So I'll call the meeting to order at 6:33. Thank you, everyone, for coming. This is a meeting of the Community Preservation Committee meeting, October 16th. I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank Travis for coming. He had sent over, I don't know if everyone saw it, it's in the Dropbox. We got it late this afternoon, a ton of information, which is great for some of the questions. So what we'll do is we're going to pull up for his discussion. We're going to actually pull up from the Dropbox what he sent us, and we'll just have him go through it for everybody. There were questions. I'm sure everybody saw that, the letters that we had sent based on questions we had asked and some of the questions that Freddie had as well. So that being said, Travis, Grant, can you pull up the packet that we just got from Travis? That would be great. And Travis, we'll just kind of let you give an overview, go through, you know, the answers to the questions that we had asked.
You guys want hard copies?
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
Not very tree friendly.
I have mine, so if you want to grant, that's great. So Travis, we'll just kind of turn it over to you first and kind of let you answer the questions. And again, I know it was a lot, but it was kind of a new project and.
Oh, yeah, no, it was a joint effort. So Chris, feel free to jump in and.
Yeah.
No, the commission had no problem. The questions all made perfect sense.
Oh, yeah.
I think we have a few more to come back to you guys tonight, you know,
Perfect.
how it works. We just want to get the expertise, the CPC and.
Yeah,
Great.
back and forth. We
Okay,
appreciate it.
Travis, we'll let you start with the map.
Oh, boy.
Explain to anybody watching what we're looking at.
Yep, so we are looking at Fayetteville Park in playground. It's if you look, I know my glasses, if you have it's at the top right, 45A is the lot. Right there, you got it. Park designated land, town owned land. So that's the park that we're looking to take a hard look at right now. Definitely one of the more popular parks and playgrounds that we have in Southborough. Obviously, the view is fantastic. The amenities are great. We currently have a gazebo that we rent out for birthday parties. That gets used quite frequently in the spring, summer, and fall for families that want to have birthday parties outdoors. We have a newish playground within the last 10-15 years there. That's great. Wood chip playground. So accessibility is a little bit of a task, but secondary accessibility option. We have a very nice basketball court there, and we have a baseball field, which is going to be the main focus of this project that we're currently going to work at. So if it's okay with everybody, I'll just go through questions.
Absolutely. So we'll go back with a quote at the end.
Yes, if that's okay. I mean, you go whatever order
No,
that you
totally
guys
fine.
want to go in, and feel free to stop me whenever you want.
No.
Let me know what you guys think as we go, if that's okay.
Yeah, Ellen and Claire, anytime you want to jump in, just please do, because you're a little tiny box in the corner. So feel free to just speak up as we go through these answers to these questions with any that you may have.
Thank you.
All right, Travis, go ahead.
Awesome. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes,
Awesome.
thank you.
Question one was probably the easiest one out of all of them. The name. We talked about this at the commission meeting a few weeks ago. We put Fayetteville Park improvements. I know you wanted a little more description, so we put spray pad and dog park. Any guidance, or would you like to see that more descriptive, or are we okay with that name?
I'm okay with that name. I would even just take out improvements. I would just say Fayetteville Park, Spring
enough.
Head and Dog Park. I don't know. Kristen Grant?
Good stuff.
Is there a walking course also?
What's that?
Is there a walking trail?
I believe there's a walking trail around a portion of it. Yeah, not around the whole thing. I could be wrong about that, but I'm fairly certain.
But it is part of what we're working with.
That's correct.
us on to see if we can get perimeter.
Yeah, that was one of the things that it'll go. Actually, the next question ties into that.
You
as
said,
well.
should that be in the name?
Oh,
Oh, yes.
Tying into the question.
Spray pad, dog park, walking trail. Is that really a trail?
Accessibility improvements.
Oh, that's good.
Because one of the areas that we're talking about, and you can loop it in, is the ADA transition plan in 2021 that the town did, the self-assessment. They actually did a pretty deep dive in all the parks and playgrounds and indoor outdoor facilities that we have. And one of the things that was indicated at Fayetteville was accessibility was a little bit of a challenge. By doing this project, and I know this is going a little bit more in depth, you'd be making the park entirely accessible, which is a good thing.
Okay.
Some of the committee would like to know was some of the outreach you've been doing. So we looked at the open space and recreation plan we did in 2019. So there's some points of emphasis for rec over the next few years. That's okay. And that we linked into for this, and this is kind of how we're getting our guidance. There's some really good survey data on as part of that open space and recreation plan. I think one of the questions, the first question for the survey, had at least pool or spray park mentioned 20+ times.
Yeah.
So people want to see pools when they, and I think this is the good compromise because it's still a water element that the town gets. There's little to no liability for spray parks. Obviously your utility costs and water costs aren't as high. And with lifeguard shortages that are coming down the pipe with everybody, you don't have to worry about that, and you still get the water element that everybody would like to see in town. I talked about the ADA transition plan. That was another, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Sorry, I don't know if I'm jumping right in.
No, go for it.
I just want to remind everyone that the town had approved dog park on Lundblad,
oh, yes.
with CPC funding. Unfortunately, for environmental reasons and the site, et cetera, we had to abandon that. So
Yeah.
that's just more input from the community that this dog park is something that
We had funded a dog park?
I think that was.
We got the
CPA.
design money.
Oh, we
for
had the
this,
design money. I'm sorry. It was when we went for all the field improvements.
but usually if you get 9 times out of 10, if you get the design money, you would have gotten the construction money from the state
State.
foundation.
Yeah.
Not from the CPC, though,
No,
CPA.
it was
I don't-
Stanton Foundation. You got 25,000 from the Stanton Foundation.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry.
But they're good.
There was, if I recall correctly, wasn't it appropriated for something else and you want to reappropriate?
Yes, because we had
Oh.
originally gone to town, got
Kristen,
money.
you're correct.
Yeah, we'd gone to town, got money through a warrant article
But not CPA, so I'm just clearing
to
that up.
do
Yeah.
the work we need to do to understand what we could do for the fields up there. But then to your point, we wanted to change the usage of that money to look into the dog park.
That's a good point.
And then doing that, we'd have to do too much with the membrane. So,
Yeah, that's a really good point. I forgot we got that money. But yeah. But the good thing about the Stanton Foundation grant, even though we didn't, where we weren't able to execute it, because of some, I don't know how we want to put it, but some issues with DEP, paperwork wise. The good thing that came out of that was the survey data that the commission and Tim had worked on. I think we had over 100 responses from residents that said they wanted a dog park. So we're able to kind of pull back that information. That was just 2 or 3 years ago, so it's
Yeah.
relatively new. So we're able to pull through that information from the Stanton Foundation that the commission and Tim did in our department. So I think there's a need based off of that survey data. People want a dog park. So we were able to pull back that. And we anticipated doing a possible survey in fall of 2025 based off of how this meeting went. And I think we were going to try to launch it at Heritage Day just to get people's feedback, but that was unfortunately a jug with the weather. But I think we would like to try to do a survey just to get people's feedback and to circulate it around just to see how they feel about a possible Fayetteville Park renovation of some kind.
Yeah, I think that's really important. That was one of the questions I had asked was, what current outreach has been done and, where it's a different place than it was too. So I think that's important to do that. So.
Yeah, and I think we just tried to, using the open space and recreation plan, the ADA transition plan, and even the Stanton Foundation plan, you kind of like interweave them based off of what you see as things that the public would like to see in the community. Definitely could use a refresher, especially with the open space and recreation plan being in 2019. You're coming up on 7 or 8 years on that, or 6, 7 years. So it'd be definitely good to get a little more of a refresh on public feedback on that.
And I think that this was good. This was actually a really good question because I think as you move forward and you start doing outreach to people as well. I mean, I had no idea that it was in all of these places.
So, yeah.
I think this is really good. Ellen and Claire, do you have any questions on this piece?
No, I think it's very well put together.
Okay, Ellen?
None from me right now, thank you.
When you watch the TV too, he's gonna come out via Zoom at some point.
Okay.
Frank, do you have any questions on this piece? Okay, all right, Travis, keep going. You're doing great.
Good stuff. Thank you. Anybody else? Is it okay with the next one? Are we okay with the committee?
Nope. Yeah, go right
All
ahead.
right, cool. The next one was current status of the field being used, it being used by sports going to transfer property is going to continue. So a very good question, very valid concern. We've definitely had some preliminary communication with Algonquin Baseball and Softball Association and their president. They definitely seem receptive to the idea of maybe taking that field offline. Right now, they use it for their T-ball program. Basically, the rec department manages all the field permits for the community. So for youth sports, we issue basically blanket permits. So like youth soccer, for example, will rent Woodward from Monday through Friday from 4 in the afternoon till 9 at night, Saturday and Sunday from 9 to 4. And we basically give them carte blanche. They do all their practice schedules, their game schedule. We really don't see that. This is just going off communication from them. As far as fields they use within the field rotations they have is definitely lower on the order. They seem receptive to some field improvements that we have down the line, maybe down the line, because right now we put Neary on hold because we don't know what's happening with the school. The grass field that is right next to the school has a lot of possibilities as far as a possible soccer field, possibly investing in the baseball, softball field there. Even the Finn complex is a T-ball field that's in back by the school that is something that if you invest in could be used regularly. And they were very receptive to those ideas. I think having baseball, softball on one complex was something that was intriguing to them. So they were definitely receptive to it. They understand the property and the scenic views and they understand the popularity of the park. So they were receptive to the idea. The initial conversations were good. So we have looped them in. The conversations have started. So they are not totally blindsided by this, and that's not what we wanted to do for anybody. We also use the park for our mini sports program. We do a Saturday morning multi-sports, mini sports, and T-ball program. But we can move that to any field or location if that field did come offline. So from a program standpoint, wouldn't be a huge loss for us from the rec department. So that's it. And the birthday parties and the things and the amenities that you do have there, a playground, a gazebo, a basketball court would all be enhanced by adding these amenities to that park.
And
If that
clean up
makes sense.
also other recreation opportunities.
Oh,
as
it
far
would
as
be great.
programs go.
It'd be great. It would open the door for summer programming opportunities for us. You could do some mini junior play programs or summer camp programs there with bathrooms and spray parks. And it opens the door for us, or opens the door for more programming opportunities from the rec. Yeah.
So can I just ask, so the T-ball would go to what's currently would go to Finn? There's a field
Possibly,
here.
yeah. So right now there are other field alternatives they can use. They can use Neary, they can use Finn. Finn needs a little bit of work to get it playable. And I think that is something we can work with DPW and youth baseball on. So there are other field alternatives for them to fill that void if that field were to come offline.
Great. Do you have any questions on this piece?
No.
Okay. Ellen, do you have any questions on this piece?
Nope, thank you.
Yep. Claire?
I'm good.
Last you, Kristen, I'm sure you don't. Freddie, did you have anything on this piece? Nope. All right, continue on.
All right. And then the fourth question is actually a very valid question too. It's the boundary question. So concerns about obviously having a dog park right next to a spray park is something that is good. I wouldn't say it's there are alternatives to make it less worrisome. There's things, if you look at the 2D rendering that we're going to put in there that aren't listed on there. But I think our goal would be to create a buffer as big as we can between a possible dog park and a spray park. I think by going through the Stanton Foundation situation with Lundblad really made me realize that as far as alternative locations for a dog park, there are not many for them. We exhausted all conservation, green space. Maybe one will come up down the line with Neary, or whatever happens with the school or other possible green space. But by losing that Lundblad dog park location, and we did a pretty exhaustive 6 to 9 month.
Yeah, I mean, Don and Jen,
Yeah.
you said they really kicked the tires. We just don't have the room, short of someone donating the money or like maybe when Costco goes in, they can throw us a bone. Northbrook's got a really cool park and some they just opened one in their conservation land that's kind of like in the trees. That's really neat. But
Yeah.
they've done the work. I mean, there's just.
Yeah, we didn't really want to, when I first got here, I didn't want to lose. The commission and Tim both worked really hard on getting that grant. And I didn't want to see it to go to waste. And we worked really, really, really hard trying to find a alternative location. And we tried looking under every rock. And we couldn't find one. So we really have a really great opportunity with this park where we could possibly get 2 really cool amenities for one that's not being used as much as it possibly should. So we're trying to take advantage of that opportunity and giving the park something for everybody. I think that's what you want in every park. So I think there are options, and the really cool thing about spray parks and dog parks is that they vary in size. There's no like set model that you need to have. I've seen dog parks that are a quarter of an acre like this one, possibly, and I've seen dog parks that are like literally 2 or 3 acres and they're massive, in forests, not in forests, and shade structures, not in shade structures. I've seen spray parks that are 9,000 square feet like Northborough's, and I've seen spray parks that are 40, 50,000 square feet that are massive. So that's the really cool thing about dog parks and spray parks. You can kind of design them based off the space. But there are a ton of amenities that you can put in that would create the boundary. One thing that the commission brought up, which was a really good idea, and I forget it was either you or Don Person, we're gonna move the gate on the 2D, it's facing the spray park. We're gonna put the gate on the opposite side of the spray park, so that way if there were a dog that were to get out of the gate, they'd have to run all the way around. We're actually gonna create vegetation between the spray park and the dog park, so there won't be a line of sight. I've seen parks that actually have like the windscreens on the, so you can't actually see anything, and obviously it's going to be a chain link fence. One of the things that I found as well, that if you have a sensitive area where you don't want dogs, you want to be extra careful, they've actually put in 6 to 8 feet tall fencing, which you can explore too. So there are fencing size, height wise, you can explore that will make it extra safe for dogs that might jump over or whatever it might be. So there are height wise, you can fluctuate fence size. So there's definitely a lot of consideration as far as alternatives to try to buffer the space. So that's a dense shrub or hedgerows. We possibly added shade trees for every 15 to 20 feet to create an overhead coverage or visual vision. So there's alternatives for creating a little bit of a buffer in that space. But very valid concern.
So this was one of the things I think a couple of us had brought up, but I did specifically. I've had a few people approach me. I'm a dog person, so I have 2 dogs. So, but there's people whose kids are deathly afraid of dogs. So like, I think we're on the right path here, Travis. I really do. I think, but the concern was you're gonna have screaming kids right next to a dog. The dog's gonna hear the kids. Some dogs are reactive to that, some dogs aren't. But I think you're on the right path with doing this. And the separation.
Yeah, we can even probably separate the gate, or sorry, not the gate, the entrance. Like if you want to have more of the playground spray park entrance on one side and more of the dog park on the other side. So that way there's a true division. We can look at that as well. The 2D rendering is definitely a very rough draft. There's things, like I said, in there that aren't listed on there that I just wanted to give you guys an idea of what it might look like. So definitely a lot of potential and a lot of room for change if we decide.
I think screening is really important, and I think that you're addressing this, and I appreciate you taking the concern seriously. As you went through this, I think screening is going to be a big key.
Yes.
I don't know if 8-foot fences are allowed in Southborough. I know you need a permit out over at 6 feet, but I don't know. Again.
Yeah, we can, they said 6 to 8 feet, for boundaries between, dog parks, and that was just one that I looked up. I hadn't seen, most of the ones I think I've seen have been 4 feet-ish. But that doesn't mean they don't exist.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have,
Zoning issue.
yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you may want to check with the building inspector. I mean, personally, I think you're probably in alleviating fears, a 6-foot fence.
Yeah.
Would probably be, again, it's not my project, but it would kind of be my preference. It's just an extra layer of security. I mean, I know dogs that can jump a 4-foot fence, no problem. So I think 6 foot gives you a little bit more of a.
Yeah, we can check with zoning to make sure fence height and what would trigger that.
Okay. So Grant, I'll go to you next on this.
On this, I don't know.
Okay, Ellen, do you have anything on this piece?
Nope, thank you.
And Claire?
This may have already been covered and I may have missed it. I think that as far as everything that you put in here, screening and all that is great. My question is really more something that might come up in terms of liability of a dog park. And don't get me wrong, I love dogs. But
Next
has
topic.
this been addressed or will it be addressed?
Claire, it's actually the next topic we're gonna talk about. That question was asked at our
Okay.
meeting. So if
All
we
right.
will answer that for you and as we finish going through this topic.
Okay, thank you.
Is Katie there yet? Rick?
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Can I-
Yeah, she's, oh, well, oh, she's there. Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Just
here.
go-
Sorry, I came through the Zoom link through the
Oh.
town, so sorry about that. I
Okay.
snuck in.
No, that's totally fine. I just wanted to make sure that when Ellen leaves, Ellen knows that when you need to leave, Ellen, you're good to go.
Thank you.
Katie, I was looking for you in the attendees.
She snuck in through the town Zoom.
All right,
Sorry.
Travis, well, no, thank you. Katie, did you have any questions on this? Sorry.
No, I think it's looking great. It looks like a whole lot of fun, but
Okay. Thank you, Freddie.
So I have a couple of questions of what you just ran through.
Yeah.
And Thomas, the dense shrubs.
Yep.
Native straight species, so boxwoods out,
Box was out, okay. Good to
ornamental
know.
grasses if they're native. And this is, the CPC, I believe, has agreed that they want to follow the master plan
Okay,
and the master plan. And I don't know if this is a big enough project that will need minor or major site plan review.
I can double check.
It's over so much area of land disturbed, I believe.
2009,
And I don't think the 10 parking, how many parking spaces
I think.
is another issue. So just want to, and the Open Space Preservation Commission will be very happy to work with you on the native plantings as called out in the master plan. The one question I had about buffer, when you talked about buffer between the two areas, that's wonderful. What about, because I run into this in conservation land, people getting in and out of cars,
Mhm.
children running, dogs running. Is there a thought or to maybe consider how do you manage that in tight spaces, right?
That's the problem that we've always struggled with over there. I mean, we had the same questions come up when we invested the money to redo the park there in terms of, I mean, unfortunately, that's just the reality of that road. We do have the parking spaces across the street that's still being worked through. It's on the rec agenda for next week.
Yep.
To an update, but.
How
you know,
many spaces there?
Total, 12 total.
12 for recreation?
To 12 in
Down.
total for the park,
For the
and then you
park.
have, I forget how many on this, on the street, but yeah, parking is unfortunately a
This
little bit
is,
of a
the
challenge.
street though has more, if people parked correctly, so
Right.
this is our problem too. People like follow the lines. I don't know the number off my top of my head. I'm gonna look at my email now, but
Are they spray painted?
For the street, I think the street parking is not, but the parking across the
It
street.
used to be, whether or not it's been redone.
Parking across the street is supposed to be designated through part of the site plan.
Yeah. And
So-
we're working through that.
What I'm saying is maybe getting spray painting as part of
Yes.
this
Yeah.
could help, but,
Yeah.
so the current parking is only on street.
Correct. So in the initial plan that we had, the 2D one, and I might have put that in the questions and answers initially, but in the initial one, we had the site plan, the site number 3 on the plan, the shade structure area for families, that was parking. And we toyed about adding like 6 or 7 spots. But it felt like it was too crammed in there. And when you have families driving in with the spray park right there, we thought it might not be a good idea. So we started to look at what would be a cost-effective option that people might like, just to have for a family area. And one of the areas that the commission thought of, and we thought of together, was like a shady area for families to eat, picnic at, and stuff like that. So the initial thought we had was adding parking to the park, but it just became too much of a hurdle to try to cram everything in there. And that's what I was afraid of too. It can be a lot in there. And we just didn't want to add too much.
Sorry if I missed this.
No, it's okay.
Is parking not a part of this project now?
Not part of the project.
No
anymore.
parking.
Yeah, we took that out.
All right.
That's gonna come out of the quote.
Yeah, so that's unfortunately, we're hoping to, maybe Kristen had a good point of maybe lining the street parking to make it more.
It used to be lined and I wouldn't be, I mean, we might just not have been following the town, but I'm looking at my email now as we work, but you know, that was definitely something we addressed back then because we were like, oh, if you put in the lines and people actually follow lines,
Yeah.
there's a decent amount of parking. It's just, people don't tend to do that, but yeah. I
If
do
you have
think we should-
lines, it's more likely.
Yeah,
And you keep mentioning the Stanton Fund, which was wonderful that you had it.
Yeah.
Is there any way to go back and get that again?
No, and unfortunately sunsetted. This past year was the last year and the grant is no longer in existence. So that is unfortunately not an option any longer.
And what about the state
So
recreation?
I can talk about that now or a little bit
Oh,
later.
it's
What-
later,
no, what-
sorry.
Well, no, it's, so there
If it's
are.
later, I don't wanna.
No, it's okay. I can, so there are funding alternatives. The city of Leominster and Woburn both got grants from the Massachusetts Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, EEA, for spray parks. But it requires a affirmative town meeting vote, which is kind of standard with federal grants. And their deadline closes in January, so that's when you submit everything. And then it's 90 days is when you hear back. So you're talking about January, February, March now, before you get an answer. And I still would like to apply. But there are two, and this is what I found out today, or yesterday, talking to DCR, is that the federal government's been behind on the approval process. So the groups that went through last year got the approval in the spring, and they just heard back from the federal government like recently that they got the approval for the grants. So they can't do any work and they sit on it. And that's the approval process as it stands right now. She said, maybe it'll be sooner, earlier, but I can't give you a definitive answer as far as when you hear back from the federal government as far as yes or no.
Reimbursement for grants.
Can I make a
Correct.
suggestion?
Appropriate the
Okay.
money.
Yeah, okay. So it's a reimbursable grant. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to.
No, you were talking, so.
So that's kind of I'm finding, I've never applied for one of the grants, so this is, I'm friends with the Leominster Recreation Director, and but the projects they did were a couple years back. Things have changed a little bit since then. So I think I can talk to my rec network to figure out how it looks. And there are definitely other funding alternatives that I'm gonna explore and try to nail down as we go through this process as well. But I just can't give you a definitive, even if we get it, I don't know how much it's gonna be.
So for the Trails grant.
Yep.
I was able to facilitate a warrant article that allowed. First of all, you have to, usually for these grants, you have to have a match already in a group, already approved.
Mm.
And that allowed the project to. It required the application to the grants and allowed the project to move forward if they didn't get the funding, but also was written in such a way that allowed the project to include getting the funding. So we can, if the committee moves forward with any of this, that's a way of working with the Recreation Commission through the proper wording of the warrant article to allow you to benefit from that and for the town people to get the benefit of not fully funding it. If you get it, we always know that there's no guarantee you get it or
Yeah.
how much, or
Isn't that like trails?
that's what I said,
Trail,
we
yeah.
did that for the Trails project.
And,
Okay,
and, you know, not to go too far down the rabbit hole tonight, but, we're meeting next week and is that what is coming or?
Yeah, it's for the 20th. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we're meeting. And, you know, other options are talking to them about what does a phase project look like? Because obviously there's value in doing all the work at once, but you know, if we think this is too much of a hanging question mark, being able to split it, you know, so we are thinking, you know, into a phased effort. So we are looking at those options as well.
For CPA funding applications.
Well, like, let's just say we got closer to town meeting and people really weren't comfortable not knowing without the state of this grant, like at that point, can we phase it, you know, phase 1 dog park, phase 2, we come back, or come back late, you know, later for the splash pad once we know, not our ideal, and probably would
Yeah.
save us not economies of scale as far as construction goes,
Yeah.
but it's something that we're
Can I
talking
just-
about.
For CPA.
Yeah.
You can come back with a second grant
Well, that's what we would-
application,
Yeah.
but it's not phase 1, phase 2.
Well,
because
for us, it would be, for CPA
Right,
funding, it would be
but-
two different,
You're putting that risk out there either way, right?
Yeah.
That if you don't think the full thing is going through. But you can't really say, okay, this is phase 1 and next year we're gonna come back. We're gonna get phase 2.
right,
The committee can't
oh, of course, of
That's what I'm
course.
saying. So
Good to know.
so, sorry, go ahead, Freddie.
you need a new application and the funding could change and the
Yeah.
competition for the funds.
Yeah, we come back with a whole new application. It
Yeah,
wouldn't,
exactly.
it would be, yeah, it would be.
It's not ideal, but if this becomes kind of a bigger issue for people or whatever, you know, that's what we're gonna explore. If from a recreation perspective, we could split the projects into two, understanding that we can't split phase one, phase two CPA funding would be two different applications at that point.
Yes,
So. Good. Let me just ask so I'm clear. So if you apply for this grant by January 1st or whatever it is that you do, and you find out in March, I understand you may not be funded for. You
Yeah.
know, a year after that. And Freddie, correct me if I'm wrong, if you get approved, when would you be looking to do this project to begin with?
so depending on the grant, let's say I hear back in March or April, and there's actually 2 workshops in November, December, so I'll have some more, and I've actually never applied for this grant. This is kind of new to me, and how this works, so. The way that they've lined it up and in the grant packet is that January grant closes, 90 days from there. They let you know if you got it or didn't get it, how much it is, how little it is.
Yeah.
And then basically you would go to town meeting, get an affirmative vote. And in normal years, I think it would come like July 1 around that time. But she said the federal government approval process has been delayed. So she said you can't do the work until you get the final federal approval, which makes sense. So you can't, we'd have to wait until the fall, then you're looking at spring.
But you may not get a grant funding anyway. They may
Exactly.
just say there's.
And if 90 days they say you don't get it, then we know, I would know by town meeting, we did not get the grant.
So my question to you is then, Freddie, is from a process standpoint. Why would they not come forward with the full application if they find out in March that you're eligible for something? You honestly, you're probably gonna get a no, just.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, just the way life is right now. But if you got a yes.
Yeah.
You know, adjustments could be potentially made, or they may never see the funding.
Yeah.
So why, I'm just asking, why would they not go forward with what they have if they find out in March prior to town meeting that they've got this funding, then that's great, you know? And then, again, could we make the warrant article contingent on the amount would be less if this grant is received? I'm just,
So
I don't understand why we would do it as 2 separate projects.
I don't want to get too far ahead of it, but I would recommend, if you want, I would recommend putting the application to the CPC for the full app, for what you want.
Okay.
We don't even know what our budget's going
Right.
to be yet. That
Yeah.
comes a little bit later.
Yeah.
End of October, early November, and so, and with what else is out there. So there's that. Put in for what you want and then have the conversation with the CPC as this process goes forward. Because come up with a budget of what the grant application can fund, how
Mhm.
much it can fund. And then it can be looked at either one of 2 ways. You can expand the project to cover what the CPA has available or that is voted plus the grant money, or you can do it that money goes against the CPA.
Yeah.
Grant
Mhm.
amount, so that, say, just pretend it was 100,000 and you got 50,000. Then we would only have, and we approve the full 100, you would put the 50 and we would only, the CPA money would only be 50.
Yeah.
Right? You can do it that way, or you could look at it. You have a project that's worth 150, and if you don't get the grant, you only build the 100,000.
Makes sense.
So I mean, there's multiple ways of approaching it. At first, you have to know if the CPC votes to recommend a project, and if they're not comfortable with the whole thing, then that's another discussion.
Right, that's
Not
that's down the
tonight,
road,
though.
got it.
And Kat, is this the same grant she applied for? For
Oh.
Trails the
No,
state
this
rec,
is-
I think it's a different one.
and it's federal, you keep saying federal?
Yeah, it's federal. That's what, I talked to her the other, when I talked to her, today's Thursday, Tuesday.
So there is the
There
Mass
are other grants out there.
Recreation grant, right?
It's not gonna give up.
Yeah.
Sorry, what?
There's the Mass Recreation grant.
Yeah, it was actually at the Mass Rec and Park Association Advocacy Day at, the state building today. But yeah, there's
We
other,
got way ahead.
yeah,
Keep
there's,
going.
there's definitely other,
Sorry, the Stanton grant.
No, it's fine. I just feel bad. I told Claire.
oh yeah, there are other funding alternatives that we're gonna explore. I'm not just gonna give up and say these, like CPC or this state grant or federal grant, that's it. So I'll continue to look and work my rec network to figure out if anybody's had some success, because there's accessibility, you can tap into that. There are definitely plenty of other funding alternatives that you can explore. And I realize by getting those other funding alternatives, it helps strengthen your application. So and
And
that's what we all want to do.
I think for town meeting as well, to be able to tell town meeting, you will be exhausted. You know, every
Oh, yeah,
opportunity that you put.
yes, so I think,
Sorry, it was the Stanton grant you
No,
mentioned.
it's fine.
sorry, I apologize.
I just feel bad. I kind of stopped clear on the liability and then I went off on the other. But let me just ask one question, then we'll go down the line.
Yeah.
So if the parking, which was 109,000 in your probable cost, so is that coming out? Is that gonna lower the amount?
Let me double check. We changed the parking after Activitas gave this, so
Okay.
I'll make a note and I'll double check on that.
You changed a few things.
Totally
We changed
fine. I
a few
just didn't
things, so
know
I might,
if it
I think it would be close to where it is now, because we added that shady structure area, but I don't know if that would come in a little bit lower based off of the parking. My guess is that it probably would. But let me double check and I will circle back.
Okay, so
Very good question.
let's go back. Fred, are you done? Yeah. Okay, let's go back to the liability where we left off. Claire, this one's for you.
Wait for me?
Oh, yeah?
Oh,
Go ahead.
my bad.
Up to the liability piece.
All right, liability. Where we at? Yeah, so I double checked with Maya, the Massachusetts Interlocal Insurance Association, and worked with Melanie, our from Town Hall, and I verified that obviously these are both considered recreational amenities and would be covered under the town insurance. I actually went in additional risk mitigation. They did recommend using your own risk as a alternative step if you wanted to take an extra step to make sure.
Yeah.
So there's signage that we can post just to make sure we're double covered. But obviously dog parks and spray parks are pretty common amenities in the rec world with towns. But those that we did confirm that those are both covered under the town insurance liability. So there shouldn't be a ton of issues on that front.
Okay, Claire, we'll go to you first because you had the question. We lose you?
She's mute.
Claire, are you there? I'll come back. Grant, do you have any questions on this?
I don't have any questions on this. I do have a couple on the budget.
Please,
document.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I can just scroll back up to that.
Anyway.
So, yeah, same question about the parking that resulted in cost savings. In terms of the $67,000, I see 67,000 is into the design fee. Is that, or was the 67 excluded from this budget?
So we can take that out. So it's a good question. So I talked to our commission about this because they had mentioned paying design development out of the revolving fund. So we do plan on using this park for potential programming down the line. So it does, I think the justification was the recreation department should be able to contribute something from our revolving fund to help pay for this, especially if we're going to be using it for rec programming. So I think historically, Don, who couldn't be here tonight, had mentioned we've paid for design development and past projects using the revolving fund as kind of like a contribution from the revolving fund. So that's kind of why we landed with the $67,000 coming from the revolving fund. So yeah, you could back that out right off the top.
So it hasn't, and what's here, it hasn't already been back.
Yeah, and this is a rough estimate, obviously, and I'll go back and I'll fine tune this more with them as well, so that you can back that out. They weren't, obviously, Activitas isn't super worried about the funding source. They just want to make sure it's all there for them. But that would be potentially paid from the rec department.
Okay, thank you. And then the other question, which I guess is probably more for Freddie, is there's a 20% contingency, Freddie, listed in the budget here. We typically do a 10% contingency.
Actually, I'll have to check that. Depends on the project.
Okay.
It was I believe it was a 15% for construction,
Oh, is that right? Okay.
10% for something else, that doesn't have a likelihood. And then depending, I would say that, first of all, depending on funds availability and the project, how close you are, what the market is, like in the CPC historically has never wanted to fund a project that, depending on future supplies, cost increases or labor, the project couldn't be completed because they didn't have enough funding. So they don't want to they want to fund it what you expect it to cost, but have emergency. And it's always not, you added something else on, or it's always what was in the original layout and something that was unexpected, such as the cost of fencing goes sky high or whatever it may be. So I think 20% might be high, but we also had looked to industry standards, and I think 15% was for construction type things was, but that could have changed since we've done a big one before.
Okay.
But what did we give the golf course? Irrigation. We don't need to know right now.
10, but for pretty smaller.
It's a good, I
Yeah.
mean, it's a fair point. You should look at what's happening because when we did go all those years ago for field costs, I think we actually went 20%, and did get beat up a little bit at town meeting
Okay.
for having it that high, to your
Okay.
point.
Okay.
So I think it's a good question worth looking at.
I mean, if you need it, I don't wanna,
Yeah.
I don't want you to run over, but,
It
just-
will catch people
Yeah.
last.
Yeah.
And the
Okay,
way the
yeah.
CPC has set it up currently is so that it's not, you don't get it unless you come back to the
Right.
CPC and explain why you need it.
Yeah.
And, so there's a review, it's not just.
Yeah.
There was a time when people just saw the total amount and, thought that's how much they had to,
hopefully we don't need it. It's not like you're building a building where, I mean, the dog park's pretty self-explanatory. Hopefully you don't need that much parking. And see, I can definitely, when I rework the parking, I'm gonna ask them if they can scale it back down to 10%. Just so we can get a more accurate number. But that's the contingency number we wanna stick with. When I rework the parking with Activitas, I can ask them, can you put it down to 10 or 15%?
no, you need to. Let me try to speak clearly here. You are not trying to make some number fit. You're trying to give us a percentage that's a requirement to make the project viable.
Okay,
So if it is 20%, you need to come back and say it's 20% for these reasons.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
CPC is not going to, historically, is not going to say, no, we just do 10%.
Okay.
We don't want you to shave off important components of your project to meet some big.
Yeah.
Because the whole point of contingency is you don't need it.
Right.
Make your budget
Exactly.
fit
Yeah,
what you're
that's
going
the
to
goal.
spend. And then the contingency is above that.
Yeah.
You're not planning to spend more than what you put in for the budget.
makes sense.
Did
I'm
that,
fine with that.
Thanks.
did that answer your question?
It
Chris?
did, yeah.
Do you have more?
None of that, no.
Okay, Claire, you're back. Did you hear Travis's explanation on the liability? Or do you need him to go over that one more time?
No, I just had to step away for a second. The cat had to eat. So, sorry about that.
Don't be sorry.
Anyway, Tim, I think you've done a really great job putting this together. There's a lot of information there. I don't have any questions right now.
Okay.
I'm sure some will come up later. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Katie, did you have anything?
Nope, I agree. It's well put together, pretty straightforward. I think it looks great.
Okay, listen, I'm gonna ask, do you have anything? Can't mention.
No.
But is there anything you want to add?
Nope.
Okay,
I agree. You did a great job.
all right, keep going, Travis.
All right, the next one's actually pretty easy too. Committee, expectancy of a light splash pad. It's generally 20 to 25 years, but some go north of that. If you take good care of it, I know some that have actually, Watertown just did one over and that had to have been pushing 25 or 30 years. But that's pretty much the industry standard. In some cases, you can get a little bit more, which is obviously if you take care of it, which is what we're hoping to do. But that's as far as life expectancy for like playground equipment, outdoor equipment. I think playgrounds in general is probably 20 to 25 years too. So that's kind of the industry standards for outdoor amenities.
So let me ask you about maintenance. I don't know that we asked you this question. So who will be in charge of the maintenance and do we
So
know?
I've actually had some really good discussions with DPW. They are aware of this project. I asked their input because I don't want to do anything that's going to add to their workload without them obviously being okay with it. They are okay winterizing it. So that was okay with them. There would be a utility cost, which we can cover from the rec revolving fund. It's hard to broadcast what that cost might be, but I would imagine this would be a recycled water system because it's so close to DCR and conservation. And that's kind of the norm for splash pads now,
Yeah.
which means the water is recycled, a little more expensive, but more environmentally friendly.
Okay,
And uses less water, so more upfront cost and uses less water. And I think that I've seen estimates that range to as low as $4,000 for the season.
okay,
And I've seen things go all the way up to 8 or 9. But if we do programming there, like I'm hoping we are, and maybe even we can use some birthday party gazebo money, because they'll be using the splash pad. There are ways that you can look at funding sources to help support that amenity. So there would be no
Okay,
utility cost on the taxpayer. It would be paid from the revolving fund.
and I think that's important when you do
Yeah,
a presentation or, let the public be aware that.
Yeah,
it's
a good- it's a good
net
point.
zero, basically.
right.
Net zero for the town.
The people that are utilizing recreation resources, or their money's being reinvested back.
Right, exactly. Okay. Wait, did you have anything?
Yeah, so thanks for answering about the number of years. I had asked that question.
Oh, yeah.
One of the reasons I was looking into just use of recreational funds for CPA, and I had read that recreational funds should be only used for essentially permanent improvements to the property. I don't know how we've kind of dealt with that previously with like other courts and that kind of thing, which one could argue maybe aren't permanent, but
Yeah.
that's kind of the nature of why I was asking that question. And but even courts have, or fields have like limited, it's a lifetime use, so
It's
like,
a
I don't
really
know how we
interesting
dealt
point.
with that.
And I always defer the CPA database for the state and like what other people are doing for projects. And it's a really good point because any outdoor recreational amenity that you put in, whether it's courts, like spray pads, trails, like you're not putting in something permanent forever.
Yeah.
Like it can change. That park 30 years from now might be a tennis court, might be a dog park. So it's never permanent.
Yeah.
That's that. I guess that's if you think about it, it's a good point.
Yeah, so that's just what I was in the back of my mind on that. Yeah.
When we talked about last time, what I walked away was more the spirit of, like, we own this, the town owns this property. It's not, if you think of like 9/11, right? We lease that property, so it's less permanent.
Yeah.
Mentally than putting in something on property that we own.
Oh, that's a good point too. Yeah. Consider it property, like the park's gonna be always the town.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So may I, just the database gives you an idea of what other towns have done, but it doesn't necessarily mean that what they've done was CPA eligible per the law. So do you want me to ask, just so that question doesn't come up later, do you want me to ask the coalition?
Doesn't
And
that
then
hurt to
just
ask?
puts-
More information is better for all of us.
And I had a maintenance question.
Okay, Can I just finish with Claire and Katie?
Sorry, yeah.
No, that's fine. Claire, do you have any questions on this piece?
No,
Thank you. Katie?
No, I don't either.
Perfect. Ready? Well, sorry.
It's long-term. I think it's kind of under maintenance, but you have a 25 to 30-year life.
Mhm.
Then what? And what's the cost to, like, when you have, some types of materials, there's a cost for dismantling, and then how do you deal with that? And then. So that's a cost to the town after it's not a CPC funding issue,
Right.
but it's something that you want to be able to answer. If someone says, well, then when it's over, life's over, it's gonna
Right.
cost us another 100,000 to get rid of the material, or.
Mm.
I don't know
is the
how you know
material?
the answer to that. I mean,
Because-
20 years, things.
I think there's ways that you can like interchange the elements if you have like an element that is becoming weathered and in use. Cause I think the biggest hurdle you'd have is maybe the pad or but again, this is just ballparking where like you can interchange elements and plan for it accordingly. So like in 30 years down the line, you're not replacing the whole thing, you're replacing
Right.
So
bits and pieces.
having having a plan that. At the end of life, you're not just getting rid of it, you're going to continue
Yeah.
and do restoration work, but. Some idea, if that question is asked, which I think is viable, like, are we? Sort of like, my memory is from, which we're not allowed to fund, but is with artificial turf. There's a big cost when you go to get rid of those.
Yeah.
Because it's hazardous waste.
Mm.
So,
And
I'm not saying this is, but I'm just saying it made me think about.
Yeah, well, we had to face that with 9/11, right, with the turf, because at some point the turf has to be replaced. That's a little different because we're getting direct money from people, so that's worked into our plan to be able to replace the turf when need be, or take it for some reason, not get property. That would be probably from the 9/11 fund. This is obviously a little bit different, but I think the point being is, like we did when we got the money for fields, we had to ensure that we were gonna have a proper maintenance plan and work it into our 5 and 10-year capital plan.
Yeah.
And understand what that looks like roughly, and then, is that something that since I think we gotta talk to Tina talks about that, but like,
Yeah.
is that something we could perceive like funding ourselves at that point through revolving, or would it just be in our regular capital plan? So we can toss that around.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point too. Yeah, the 9/11 is a perfect good example. Like, I think we're paying that bond off, I think in 2032. And I think the hope is that the life of that turf field will last at least a little bit longer than that, so that way you can accrue. You're not paying the bond and you can accrue some to help a bigger down payment on possible replacement down the line.
Yep.
But that is like the next 10, 15 years looking at that being possibly replaced.
Yep, yep.
But also I should have this for next meeting if we meet again in November.
Yep.
I've already started to compile a list of other towns and alternate funding, total cost for projects and square footage for spray parks. Just so I can give you guys comparables for other communities too. So I should have that. I think I've got 5 towns already. Some have done capital, some have done CPC, some have done grant. It's kind of been a mixed bag for funding. So I'm hoping by next meeting, I should give you maybe 10 to 15 towns, what they've done and cost comparisons.
Anybody else on that? All right. Next, go ahead, Travis.
Average price of splash pads for property. That's the good thing about spray parks and dog parks, like I talked about. I've seen them super small, and I've seen them very big. There's no like rhyme or reason to it. I asked, so you guys can have some context too, when I did ask Activitas to give us a design, I told them look at Northborough just as a comparable. But obviously, you've got only so much room to work with for this park. I think the spray park, the way that they designed it, has taken up a good amount of room and is a very good size given the park and the room that you have. And I think it was roughly 9,000 square feet, I think it was. Or sorry, 8,000 square feet. So a little bit smaller than the one in Northborough.
Okay.
They say as far as industry standards, and I actually found this out by doing this, is that one person for every 25 square feet is generally the rule of consensus. So I'm terrible at math. 8,000 divided by 25, so you get a decent amount of people in there at once. So it's I think it's
Two. Oh, no, that doesn't work out.
So is that based on population? Like, so we're smaller than Northborough, right? Northborough's like 1.5 times the size.
Yeah.
of us or so.
I don't know how they came up with the number.
Yeah.
When I looked at the National Rec and Park Association guidelines for spray parks, that was what I found.
Oh, no, sorry, I meant like in terms of coming up with the design for 8,000, like.
Oh, the size? No, that was just being our neighbor. And I think I don't know if it has to do with like population size based on your town or just your park, what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if I've got a larger park, I forget the town I was looking at. I think it might have been Woburn actually, because I was looking at them for the grant. They did, they've got Green Street Spray Park. If you ever look it up, it's, I forget, the square footage for the spray park is insane. It was like literally like 5,000, 6,000 square feet. It was massive. I don't know if it has to do less population or more to do with like the park that you have to deal with, and the area you have to deal with. If you have a bigger area, you can put a bigger spray park and more parking. I think Waltham, if you heard the news, they put that beautiful park. I forget how big it is. It's a very large, most accessible playground in New England. In Waltham, they put it in a neighborhood, and it has blown up popularity wise, and
Great.
there's no parking. So people are all complaining about it. So it's I think it more has to do with designing it that's going to fit your park or your area. That's the way I look at it.
Thank you. The other thing I'm thinking about with this is like, when is the splash pad going to be used? Like, how many, is it,
Seasonal.
Yeah.
seasonal? Is it like,
So this is the
is it
plus,
just
this
like
is
a fountain
another,
that's
it's actually,
running all the time, or is it?
it's a
sensor
good question.
trigger, or-
So I've seen most on timers. It's a really good question. But as far as to Kristen's point, this is another good thing about a spray park is that pools, I'm opening it up early July and I'm closing it mid-August. It's 7 or 8 weeks. And that's the best you're gonna get with like lifeguards and what I can do for hiring staff. Spray parks I can open up whenever we want to winterize it. So whenever the weather turns, April, May, weekends, I can put it on weekends until school gets out. And then all week once summer starts, and I can go all the way till October. So you get more of a calendar time that you can use the spray park. So I think it varies per community.
Okay.
I think I just saw Medway close theirs in like October 1. I've seen some communities that'll try to push it as long as they can just for weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think getting the most bang for your buck and going along, but you don't want to push it to the point where it's frost and then you're looking at like issues with that. So you
Yeah.
gotta be careful with that.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at Northborough's page and they make the point that the splash pad's not open in inclement weather. Do you happen to know if Wareham, is it kind of like how we control the lights? It can be done by an app now?
I think so, but I'm not quite sure. I can
Okay.
ask Ally, but I think for the most part, like they have the push buttons. Like
Oh, yeah.
so like if you have a rainy day, nobody's there. Nobody's gonna push the buttons. Nobody can
Oh, I
use the
see.
water.
Right.
It's not going 24/7. I think that's how they do it, but for my kids using spray parks, that's just how I've seen them done.
Okay.
It kind of is like the push button where tennis courts, like if
Ah.
nobody's at the tennis courts and it's
That makes
raining,
sense.
nobody's there to push the button, lights don't come on.
Yeah.
You're
So it's
not
not like
using
a fountain that's just going.
Yeah, exactly. So like if you, same thing for a spray park. If you have nobody that's gonna push that button, press to make the water come, then.
Yeah.
You're not using the water. But yeah, as far as it's a great point. So that I've always been more apt for spray parks because of so many reasons, and this is one of them, is that you get more time to use during the
Okay.
year.
That's good to know, thanks. And then in terms of, when it's off season, well, is it concrete or some, is the base or something like that, but is
I-
it just kind of like you can't really do anything with it, right? It's
You
just
can't really
kind
do
of-
anything.
yeah.
It's usually like, they're a combination. I've seen some that have been concrete. I've seen some that have been poured rubber. I'd have to double check and take a deep dive with Activitas to figure out what they put in for a surface, but it's either gonna be.
Okay,
Yeah, and some the same thing for Northborough. They have kind of a poured rubber concrete mix, I think.
Yeah, asphalt, they recommend water shoes.
Yeah.
Tyson.
So it's definitely a mixed bag. I've actually seen, one of the things I saw at the National Record Park Association, which are really, really cool, and I'd love to do this down the line. Norwood, I was the rec director in Norwood. They were a big hockey town. They had a splash pad that had the coolant lines built in. So in the summer, you used it as a splash pad. But in the winter, you took the elements off and you flooded it, and it was ice in the winter. They use them actually. They're popular in Canada. They haven't kind of made their way down, but go figure. I've seen they're actually at the National Record Park Association conference. But then you're talking about a facility that you would be using from April to September, October, now turning into a facility that you'd be using 12 months out of the year.
that's very cool.
So I thought that was pretty neat. Not to go off on a tangent.
No, that's okay.
Is that something you're looking into?
Not for here, no. I wish though.
Someday,
Someday.
someday.
I love that idea. That's a CPC application 2035.
All right. Katie, do you have anything?
No, not at the moment.
Okay, Claire?
I may have missed this, but, and I was just trying to look it up. The difference between splash pad and spray pond, or are they just pretty much interchangeable?
It's kind of the same thing, just different language. Spray pad, splash pad, spray park, they're kind of the same thing.
Okay, and the reason that I'm bringing this up is just for consistency. Most of the time it was referred to as splash pad, and then I did see someplace, and to save my life, I can't go back and find it in the documentation. It said spray pond, so that's just my only comment.
That'd be my fault. I can go through and make sure we're consistent through the questions, answers.
Good catch, Claire. Thank you.
Well, you answered my question that there's really no difference. I'm just saying that for consistency with other people reading it who are like, you know, dumb to this stuff like I am. It might, just bring up an extra question. That's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Did you have anything, Freddie? No, okay. All right, let's keep going.
We talked about the size, material being used for dog park. Again, this is one that I've seen a bunch of different materials used. I've seen wood chips, I've seen grass, I've seen turf. I think I asked DPW, they probably side with wood chips because mowing, they said we don't really want to get into, they said if you put a double-sided gate, that'd be helpful for us, but wood chips would probably be the way you gotta go. And I think that's, as far as dog parks go, I think that might be the norm, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
But that's probably the material, but we can kind of figure that out a little bit further down the line as we continue in conversations.
So let me ask you then, about wood chips.
Yeah.
What would the lifespan, again, going back to maintenance again, what would the lifespan be potentially of wood chips? And again, it's a maintenance question. How and where would those be covered within potentially the town budget?
Gotcha. And maintenance of wood chips every year. It's a good question.
Grant?
Yeah, I had asked this question. We can't use turf for athletic fields. I'm not so sure about for dog parks, but I was
Yeah.
essentially asking, is this gonna be turf? So
Probably not.
Currently not planning.
I'd probably stay away from that because I know
Yeah.
there's turf, questions even,
I
going further.
don't think it matters what you're using it for. You
That's why
can't fund
I wasn't
CPA money.
entirely
Yeah,
sure, but I
exactly.
just wanted to make sure there's a thing where.
And I can ask Activitas and take a little bit of a deeper dive what they've used for dog parks as well. There are
Do the fill, the
Yeah.
fill for the.
there are ways that you can maybe charge for dog park license tags and stuff like that, where the tags would then pay for wood chips and tags. There are
An interesting
alternative
idea.
ways that you can look at funding for dog
Yeah.
parks as well.
That's actually a really interesting idea.
I've seen other places do it where they make you pay some sort of license for the year, small cost,
Small, but.
but it would help pay
Yeah.
for the wood chips. And that's
And
probably
maybe
gonna,
some people feel better who say,
Sounds
I don't
like
have a dog, I'm never gonna use this, I'm a
Yeah.
cat person.
Why am I gonna pay the
Yeah.
maintenance on
Yeah.
this? And that's
the same thing in your gazebo birthday parties could help. There are ways that you can
Yeah.
add fees that would help cover maintenance costs, but it's a good question.
We have found, Matt.
Okay.
Tree companies that cut down trees.
Mhm.
Will
Oh,
deliver
yeah.
free wood chips. No guarantee, but you can, we have been told, and we normally on our paths in our gardens, you need to replace them like every year for walking on. And this will be different, but they break down and
You may wanna check with the DPW on their
No, that's a good point,
person they
too.
use for trees,
Yeah.
maybe. they
in the
can
past,
work
we
out-
got
that's a
some
great idea.
delivered free
Yeah.
from DPW.
That's a
This
great
was
idea.
Years ago, but,
Love that idea.
That's, yeah, that's great.
or what's the company?
Stuffies?
No,
Everybody does.
Everybody
stuff.
does.
But, the electric company.
National Grid,
Yeah, I don't think they normally ship, they just use the big chunks down,
Yeah.
but, you know,
Yeah, it's a good point. All great
different
ideas.
options, yeah.
So there's options, but that's the material we
I
were
mean, you
thinking.
still have to get someone to truck it over there and drop it off and spread it, but.
It's
the material.
We had a company do a bunch of trees in our association and one of the neighbors had them. Yeah, would ship it into their lawn, so
Yeah,
that's a great point.
that's a great question for Bill. Katie, do you have anything?
I do not.
Hey, Claire?
All right, I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Grant, you're all set now?
Yep.
Okay, Chris, I'm not asking you because of you can throw it out if you have something. All right, Travis, keep going.
All right, and here's the meat of the application, the why. So this is good stuff. So it's Southborough currently lacks an off-leash dedicated area for the town, which is something we're hoping to address. There's also no water element in town. Again, something we're hoping to address. Informal off-leash dog use at athletic fields or trails cause conflicts with youth sports and field maintenance. Many families travel to other neighboring towns like Hopkinton, Ashland, and Westboro for dog parks. This would give them an amenity in town, which is nice. Where we at? And again, going back to the Stanton Foundation, over 100 survey results and all were very in favor of a dog park. And that was going back to 2023. So very, very recently, people have indicated they wanted one. We're hoping to deliver on that. This would provide inclusive recreation options for families, seniors, and pet owners. This park really would be able to give everybody anything. So the seniors, if you look at the 2D rendering, has a walking trail that goes around basketball court, basically the majority of the property. So it would give seniors an area to walk on a nice day. It would give families another amenity to use in town, a splash pad and a picnic area. It'd be able to give a dog enthusiast an area to use have an area for off-leash play. Obviously, anytime you do a park upgrade, it provides a public health and social connection for encouraging outdoor activities. Reduces unsanctioned dog use, which I said at fields and trails. It revitalizes an underused element of the park. Like I said, there's 3 parks outside of that are not attached to schools. We have 21 Highland, the townhouse behind Town Hall, and Fayetteville. And Fayetteville, out of the 3 of them, is it is the most popular one in town. So it really would revitalize a portion of that park that is not being used to its full potential. And we're excited about that. Spray Park, another element for Spray Park I forgot to hit on, it adds heat relief for amenities for summer. So any of those families that have little ones in the summer that I don't know what to do, it's July, it's 95 degrees and I need to get my kids cool and somewhere to run around in. this will provide them some relief for that, which is great. And again, we touched on this too, is the ADA element and the accessibility element. I think in the 2021 self-assessment that the town did, they looked at Fayetteville, and one of the things that they had mentioned was it not being super accessible or all the way accessible. This really would make the park fully accessible for everybody, which is great. So that's, I think that's a lot of the why. I think it checks a lot of boxes when you look at a lot of the plans the towns have done, or Southborough has done. So when we had looked at this plan, I think it was a little further out. But with Neary being on hold right now, and that park or that field being on hold right now, it really kind of asked us what are some other parks that we can look at to really improve. And this one was one that we all agreed was one that we should jump on the now.
I have a bunch of questions I'm gonna save till the end, because it's not, as you're going through this.
Yeah.
Questions are popping in my head that really are kind of outside the scope of this, so,
It's a lot of why, I know.
no, I think it's great, but it just, again, it. Questions that you get here are potential questions for town
We
meeting.
know that, yeah.
So it's, it's always a good thing. I will just ask, what is the size of, do we know like the length of the area in walking around? So
I
if
can
we're
definitely
gonna
find out.
approach it as, another walking spot for seniors or whatever, do we know how far, they know with the track, but, do we have any idea of what the length of that would be?
I can ask Activitas or try to figure out
Okay.
what one lap would be.
Just a roundabout, just an idea. I think that's important to be able to pitch to, maybe a senior that
Yeah.
can't, do long lengths, but, wants to go and still be around kids. A lot of
Yeah.
seniors do love to be around
Yeah.
kids, so.
Yeah, and and I think it's very
And
rare that you can
dogs,
find a
and
property
dogs,
or a
and
park
dogs.
that can check the boxes for a lot of people. And that's obviously what you want in any park. It has something for everybody, but this truly is something that you would have something for everybody.
Yeah, and there's times like the seniors can't walk to schools or whatnot because
Right.
school's in session, so this just, it's another avenue from walking in the cemetery, there's
I was
access.
gonna say.
I know.
And a place for them to then sit
Right.
and meet
And
and,
they can have a coffee afterwards, but I mean, the trails group from the senior center is very active, Trailblazers.
Yeah, the trailblazers.
This might give them another opportunity as well, where, look at the view you get from there,
Yeah.
you walk and you get to, your views are beautiful.
I know, really is.
So I think there's a lot of pluses that you could, utilize with that, so anyway,
Those are great suggestions.
all right, Grant, go ahead, sorry,
Nothing on this, I'll probably have 50, yes.
okay. Katie? Anything?
Nothing yet.
Thank you. Claire?
No,
Awesome, Freddie? Nope. Wow, all right, let's keep going.
All right. The status of the property at chapter 97, we did check with the town. I got the deed from Paul Sabelli. And I did check with conservation. I just want to make sure I understood what we needed to make sure we had everything we need. So it is a designated parkland. I did check with conservation to make sure there was no conservation restriction. I did check with legal to make sure there's no issues by doing this. All said, no issues, no restrictions. We will have to let DCR know because it abuts DCR property, so would like to be a good neighbor and make sure they know. But I think we should be okay. But I'm always happy to go back and ask if we need more.
The question
Yeah.
is, it needs to be restricted or allowing whatever the language is for recreation projects, needs to be recreation land. So if it was dedicated as, the reason it was Article 97, which isn't exactly the question for recreation use. This came up in another project. I can dig out the language.
Yeah,
But if it's dedicated as a park.
Okay.
For recreation uses as a playground. That's what you
it
need
is. I
that.
think it.
It's not like you don't want a restriction,
Yeah.
so. That's the restriction you do want, and like if it had a restriction, no playgrounds, I mean. That's not what the question is, so,
Yeah, I can work on that.
and I think for DCR, letting them know that you're having a dedicated place. Well, that's another question back to maintenance. Because the dogs will be using the area for dog waste, so is there a maintenance plan for barrels to pick that up regularly without getting flies and things like that?
Mhm.
And how do you deal with the wood chips? I was talking about annual use, they get turned over, but you pick up solid waste from dogs, but not all the peeing that happens, so you might want to look into what the best, like, do the wood chips need to be picked up and disposed of
Yep, you got it.
periodically, because you don't, you know.
Great
You
question.
mentioned that, so you said it's,
What's that?
it's currently designated parkland?
It is, yes.
Okay. And is that,
But I'll verify that, but I've checked with Paul and I've double checked, but it is designated parkland.
So you
Okay.
want to put that in the application, because it's a requirement for CPA funds for.
and would that be on the deed, just so I know?
I'm not sure where it is or how town meeting approved it.
Okay.
We can look into it.
But Travis,
What
if
he
you have a
has.
copy of the deed, would you mind sharing it?
Yeah,
That would be great then.
I have Paul emailed that to me, I think last week, so I can share that with everybody.
That would be great.
Yeah.
It'd make it a lot easier. Okay, great. Go ahead.
That's it for that, thanks.
Okay. Katie, anything?
Nope.
Claire, anything?
No,
Thank you. Okay, Freddie, do you have anything else? Do you want to bring up the conceptual plans and you can kind of talk about that? That's next on the list.
Yeah.
Great, I'm grateful that 2D.
All right, 2D rendering. So this
2D
is very much a rough draft of what it could potentially look like. So I'll just go by the numbers if it's okay.
Yep.
So, oh man, I'm blind. One is the walking trail. That's the one we talked, or no, that's 4. See,
Yeah.
one is the dog park. I think what's not pictured is the gate's probably gonna be on the other side. That's something that needs to be changed. So that'll be moved over, so it's not facing the spray park. But initially, in the initial rendering we had was we had parking on number 3. Thank you. And I think we talked about it and it just looked too congested. And we talked about really enhancing the property. We felt like having another area for families to congregate and eat and play, because the kids will be in the splash pad. The parents will probably want a place to sit, picnic, relax. So the 3 is more of a picnic play area. 2 is your splash pad that we had talked about. And those are the big amenities that we're going to be enhancing. The accessibility trail is number 4, and that wraps around the dog park, splash pad, picnic, and basketball courts, loops all the way around. So it really, if you're parking across the street, you can get on. If you park in the ADA accessible handicap spots on the lower right side, you can get to anywhere in the park, which is great, and that's what you want. By doing this, you make the whole park totally accessible. Even the water element is an accessible element that people can of all abilities can navigate. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. And most of the in the lower right next to the basketball court is that's our gazebo where we have all of our birthday parties and stuff. That's currently there.
This year.
No, to the right. Keep going. There you go. That's it right there. So we're excited about it. It really, when we initially went through this, I was worried it might be too much in a small area, but after they laid it all out, I think it works. It doesn't look super congested. And this is just my point of view. And feel free to weigh in, but
No, I think the commission, we're all on the same page. We reviewed this once before, we made some tweaks, like we said, we're tweaking it again next week
Yeah.
based on this conversation. But in a time where things are really uncertain in terms of how we can continue to move recreation forward, given the schools.
Yeah.
There's just so many what ifs that we got pretty excited when we said, we want to be back off fields, not back off, we still do maintenance and everything we need to do our fields, but we need to shift those capital plans out.
Yeah.
But to still continue to enhance recreation for the community was something we were excited about.
Something new and.
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
really
you may bring a whole new level of people,
yeah.
to come here that may not have come in the past.
I think one of the cool things that so we have the National Rec and Park Association CEO come and do a speaking at Advocacy Day, and one of the things you mentioned was like it was a stat. It was like 85% of people look at local parks and amenities when they're moving to town as a consideration, which is really cool. So when you do things like this, it makes you have a lot of pride in your town, your community. I think that's really cool. And I think one of the things that is in the open space and recreation plan is every year it's look and evaluate your facilities. So because there's no more park space to make up. You're brimming at the seams and I can't just invent park space.
Yeah.
So I think constantly trying to evaluate the facilities that you do have to look at ways you can improve them. It's just something that I think we're trying to jump on something with that.
So a couple questions.
Yeah.
If I may. So there is currently no lights at the park, correct?
Correct.
So when it's dark, it's dark.
Yep.
Is there any thoughts of putting in, again, I'm not asking to add anything, but I'm just kind of thinking ahead that, you're adding a splash pad, and if it's summer and, or even get to the fall when it starts to get dark by 5 o'clock, but it's, you get a nice warm day. I mean, is there any thoughts to,
It wouldn't hurt, maybe the basketball court and maybe you can do a two-sided one on the basketball court where it lights up the basketball court and the spray pad, so maybe you have 2 posts in between spray pad and basketball court. Also want to be respectful of the neighbors too, because
Of
I don't
course.
wanna, you don't want kids running around at 9 or 10 at night.
Agreed.
But definitely worth considering, and maybe if maybe we go through the first few years, realize the popularity is booming.
Yeah.
Maybe there's other alternative parking we can look at, maybe there's light options we can look at.
just for your back pocket, it may be, once you start to see the use.
Oh, yeah,
And my second comment is, if people with dogs are gonna come down and they're gonna walk by the basketball court, that's fine, and then that little family area there.
Mhm.
You may wanna consider dogs, people, kids. Dogs tend to kind of jump and bark and not mean anything, but just happy to see them. Some type of border along the walkway there.
that's a good
If
point.
people are bringing them down. Again, I would just hate a little kid to be sitting there enjoying, a little picnic in the park, and then this. I mean, I have a crazy dog, so he would just like want to go, and he just would get so excited. I just would hate for somebody to get scared. Just along the border.
Are you talking like when they enter the park?
So if they come down by 4, and then they come walk by the area 3, there's no screening.
So
No,
just,
to go to the dog park, yeah, they would go that way, and then you said you're gonna put the gate, you're gonna move the gate.
yeah,
So
over
they
there.
would do the walkway till they got there, but I'm just concerned about area 3, Freddie.
So,
Where's area 3?
Right there, where Grant's at now.
so basically a fence around area 3 and 4,
Or
3
even
and 2.
just one around the east side. Just around the east side, because once the dogs walk past that, I don't think you're gonna have an issue. If the gate's around the other side, they're gonna walk to the gate.
Gotcha.
But I don't think they're like gonna go up the path if there's no gate there. But I think just from that one little area, I think it would give some level of.
That's a
What
good point.
about also consider it in a park instead of more fencing? A shrub,
Yes,
A
Yeah.
hedge or something,
Yeah.
yeah,
just to keep the dogs from
just
running in.
something.
And then Don, and I think this is the point where like, talk about it, like, you guys gotta remember that steep hill, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Over here, it lessens out a little bit too, so
Yeah.
maybe there's another.
Maybe you do a dog park entrance there,
yeah, that's what I was thinking, dog park,
then
by
you're
that,
fine.
by that walkway up there, that's
Yeah.
what's gonna be your dog park entrance, that's where people are gonna come in with the dog
Well,
park,
Most,
hopefully,
most people.
most people. That's where we'd like to see people come in with the dog park, but I think,
Then that may alleviate that concern, just keep it,
Yes.
again,
No,
another
it's a
thing
good
to keep
point.
in your back pocket.
Is there a sidewalk down the,
There's a
Street.
crosswalk there, but.
I think there's sidewalk down there, I mean, it's pretty wide, isn't it? I could
Oh,
be
no,
wrong,
not
maybe
there.
there's not.
On the opposite side, Freddie?
is there a sidewalk on that street on either side? Or is it
That's
just
on Central Street?
parking?
It's all the parking.
It's parking, then no sidewalk, just park?
Yeah, it's parking.
And on the other side, no walking? So there's no walkable access to this park?
Yeah, we have to address that.
Well.
We
there's
can't address
crosswalks,
it if
it
you
looks
don't
like
have it,
for
so.
Yeah, I
parking.
mean, there's.
Yeah, is there a cross, that's
It's
the part I don't know,
parking,
I thought there was a crosswalk.
There is a crosswalk, isn't there? Yeah.
We could do Google Street View or something if we need to.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
I was just gonna say, it's gonna shut down.
I could have sworn there was, but.
Do you want me to pull up?
Now,
Street
Sure.
View or-
You
now I'm
want-
second guessing myself.
That would be
Take a
great.
second, it'd be just good to see. Think a separate entrance for the dog park is
And you can always
the way to go.
have a, not that everyone will pay attention. But you can always have a little sign with like dogs with an arrow this way
Yeah,
and people only that way.
yeah, I like it. No,
To
it's a good,
direct,
But there
Like-
will be those that,
I know,
but it does help.
yeah,
It could
oh,
help.
absolutely. I
And
agree,
they
Fred.
might be more sensitive for like, small children, please, like, why are we
There
telling
you
you not
go.
to go this way? Like, you're
Yeah.
kind of more.
Yeah.
if you're gonna-
Small children area.
Yeah, like if you know your
Old
dogs.
people.
Exactly. Like, I wouldn't bring my crazy dog down that way, because he would just be like, he's a puppy. And he just wants to
Oh, here
see
we go.
everybody and.
All right, so we're on Winter Street,
This is Winter Street, so we're looking at central,
Down.
guardrails, guardrail,
so guardrail with parking. This is
So there's
Stable
a-
Hall.
sidewalk on the
The
other
sidewalk
side.
on that side.
Okay,
Is
sidewalk.
there a sidewalk further down by the train tracks?
Oh, let's see, shall we?
I think
Okay.
it's, I
So
thought
there is a crosswalk
I thought of the plan,
and
it shows,
steps. Crosswalk and
yes, no,
steps.
it does, it shows it, so that's what I'm wondering.
And is there a way to do a walkway, or does it need to be
Oh,
so
There you
wide?
go. There you go.
Yeah, there is.
There is, okay, so there is a crosswalk already there.
And there's like a, you know, you could
Look
look
at
at something
Grant,
there
can you,
to.
can you keep going down Central Street towards,
Towards Walgreens,
no, the other way.
other way.
Yeah, can you, what about doing parking on the other side of the train tracks on the left? Would you, could you ever do that? Extend that parking on the other side of the
Kind
train?
of had the original one, that's where I thought we had this,
There's parking here.
oh, you mean more spots beyond the?
Yeah, keep going, like
Oh,
over
yeah.
the train tracks. What if you were to carve out another like parking area on the left along the road?
You'd have to check with
Yeah, DPW, just food for thought. And I thought like,
right of way and
Doesn't
the train where they're,
Land
Yeah.
right around it.
They do, I just don't know how far.
the train may have like 2 tracks, not just one there,
gotcha.
even though there's only one. I believe there's only, as a matter of fact, we talked about putting a trail there at one point.
Oh, really?
and Because it's 2 tracks, but only one's active, and you can actually have
That
a
is
trail
actually
next to an
longer.
active railroad that's going really fast, and this is a slow one. Conversation for another day.
Yeah, conversation for another day. Good feedback, though.
But there's, and then that goes all the way up to,
Isn't there 2
Route 9?
spots too, in the back corner,
Correct.
handicap accessible spots?
Yep.
what are the yellow?
So that's a good amount of
Those
parking.
are the spots marked, the parking spots.
Yeah, they are.
No,
Hey,
that's
look,
not
somebody's
parking.
parking there.
Somebody's there in the picture, we like that,
about.
That's all handicap.
right, but I'm just saying that that's just another. And I think if you do the walking path all around, I think they're accessible that way, if somebody's in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
They can just wheel
Yeah.
over to the dog park if they want, and,
Well, your trail wasn't going all the way to here, was it?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
that's
it
our-
was-
We're hope,
It was on the other
You
side.
can tie into that existing one on the other side of the gazebo.
Of the basketball, yeah.
okay, yeah. So maybe it's not, but,
What I meant was the perimeter doesn't go around the playground.
No, it goes around the
yeah,
basketball.
right there,
Right.
yep, so, okay. Okay, great, any questions?
No, not on that. Oh, actually, yes.
Okay.
There are 2 squares, with an X through them. One, actually, let me just share the screen again.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I believe those are shade structures, but I'll double check
Okay,
with Activitas, but I'm almost certain that those are shade structures.
one is on number 3 and then one is next to.
Correct.
And by shade, is that like a sun sail thing?
It's either, it can be whatever you want it to be. It can be a like a canopy, a one that you put up, or it can be more of a permanent gazebo, but if I'm. Like we have one at 21 Highland, if you go there, it's like it's like a shade sail canopy that you can put up.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
That's what 9 times out of 10, that's what a lot of people do. It's just more cost effective.
Okay.
And it still accomplishes the same thing.
Thanks. And then, I know you said this is rough, but in terms of trees, are there existing trees? Are you planning on plantings in these?
I think the more trees, the better.
Yeah.
I'd love to do more natural shade areas, especially for the dog park. We'd love to put a few more in just so they have some shady areas. If we can add a few more trees where the picnic area is on area 3, I'd love to add a few more.
Okay.
So that would probably be if I always err on the side of trying to add more natural
Yeah.
shade if we can.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree. And especially with the splash pad, it's gonna be in the basketball court, it's gonna be a lot of open.
Yeah.
Um,
Be nice to break it up a
concrete
little
or
bit.
asphalt or whatever, so.
Yeah.
Good
stuff.
All right, Katie, anything?
No questions. I just think that this is a really beautiful example, as Travis had said, of repurposing property that we already have. I mean, I think it looks great, and it's going to be a great use of some of these funds. So thank you, Travis, and the commission.
Awesome, thank you, Katie. And Claire?
It's a great, Travis, it's a great, picture to make people realize how much you can fit into that space. I never ever would have thought, and I go by there a lot, I never would have thought that all that stuff could fit into that site.
Yeah, I was surprised as well.
Yeah, I mean, the dog
Thanks.
park, 13,000 square feet. I
Yeah,
mean, that's a good sized dog park.
Yeah.
it's a lot of happy dogs.
All right, Freddie, do you have anything?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
I'm going back to some parking questions.
Yeah,
Last summer, I think it was, I got a call like. And I immediately ran over to the 21 Highland Street playground. Someone said, something's going on over there, right? And I went and it was KinderCare goes there on Fridays
yep,
consistently. Not every Friday, but, and one thing I asked, like, that playground was full. And the one question, I said, any thoughts? And they said, one thing is park.
yeah.
How many spaces do you have at 21 Highland? Not counting the ones below, but
Not counting the ones down below and in the parking lot itself. I think there's probably 5 or 6 on the playground side. In the middle, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say it's 4 on each side, so 4, 8. So what's that? 6 plus 8, you're talking about 14 spots, 14 to 16 spots, not that many spots.
and then down below.
Down below is you could wrap around and get a lot more in. There's a lot more potential there. But the parking lot, even with the 2 vans that we have and youth and family, and then us parking there during the day, me and Christina and Lisa or Denise, we take up a lot of that parking just with staff alone. It's
Have you counted the on-street parking for this?
I have not because it's not marked, so you're kind of just ballparking it.
I think it is though. I think
Just, yeah,
the other
When we
street
did the-
view it was.
Well, it wasn't the parking that was marked. It was weird. It was like car door opening.
Why don't you let us take that one away because we're guessing at this point.
Yeah, I'm just guessing. That's the hard part.
Okay, just as a comparison, like if you can beat the
Oh,
14,
yeah, good call.
you got 12 across the street, so that's good. I'm just saying,
But I will say, if you look at 21 Highland and then you look at, the town hall is a smaller playground. The playgrounds and parks outside of schools. So you take schools out, the 3 playgrounds that we have, 21 Highland, Townhouse and Fayetteville. Fayetteville probably has the most parking, at least comparable to what 21 Highland is, as far as parking goes. Townhouse is a different animal because you have the town hall parking right there. But yeah, I would say it's maybe comparable to Townhouse, but yeah, you're right. We can take that out.
townhouse, I see a lot of people actually walk.
Good point too.
Okay,
okay, let's go back. Almost done, Travis.
Lisa, I have one quick question. I may have missed this. Does the diagram assume lighting or is that going to be included?
No lighting,
Not at this time.
not at this time.
Okay. Thank you.
Reserve the right, Claire, to come back. Once it gets built and to see the use and everything. Then they're gonna consider. Is that fair? Yeah, okay, yes. Okay. All right, Travis.
All right, the final one, the funding and the source and why has recreation arrived at the $67,000 contribution? So the 67,000 represents design. We talked about this as a commission last week. I guess historically we've contributed to projects that we will be using as a rec department. So obviously this facility is going to have a splash pad. We are fully anticipating using this for programming down the line. I think it's totally justifiable to ask the rec department to pay for a portion of this, and we're hoping to pay for the design portion out of the revolving fund, and that's kind of how we landed at that number. That's kind of our contribution to the project. And we talked to Don and Kristen. This is the way that the projects we've done it historically. So I think that's kind of how we landed on that number. And that's why that's why we had mentioned that as part of the application.
It's also kind of a show of good faith, right? Like, we're gonna get through design, we'll pay for that before we spend
Yeah, it's a
the
good point too.
town's money. No, then we're not expecting any unexpected. Yeah, things, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of like, it's under, right?
Yes,
They just phase it.
yeah,
This is not like that, but
okay.
can I ask, you're talking about was it Claire that asked us, you have the permitting and bidding assistance.
Oh, on the Activitas?
Because the design development, that's 67,000, that's,
I'll pull that up.
Activitas great, they definitely tend to run a little high, let's do it. Let's check it out.
like, what is permitting and bidding assistance? Is a town department.
Bidding assistance would be, yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. If I'm constructing the bid for this project, that they're basically assisting on the bidding process, managing it, all that fun stuff. Do we need that full amount? I don't
You
know.
hire someone to do that? I thought that was done through, am I mistaken? Through the town?
The project manager
No, bidding.
bidding.
Bidding is done formally through the town, but they would help you construct what that looks like. And make sure that you're crossing the T's and dotting the I's, because it is a relatively big project, and I don't have a ton of experience as much. I've managed splash pads. I have never installed one, and obviously this is a pretty big, it's a big one. So they would basically work you through,
Evaluate bids coming back in, right?
Yeah.
Like
work you through the scope, what you need to include, what you need to write, what you need to have. I can pull what other departments do, but I hate to mess something up on the bid, procurement side and not include something. They would basically write the bid for us and go through it.
we've never done a project quite like this either, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It could just be me. I just don't recall seeing bidding.
I interpreted it more on like when we're receiving back responses. Evaluating what would be submitted, because none of us are experts on this type of construction, nor I think anyone in the town is. So that's where you want their participation to some degree, right?
Yeah, and I think
Getting
it's,
professional helps always.
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good point. I think Kristen had it. I think it's all encompassing everything. The bid would be by the town and managed by the town, but they would help us write it, get everything out, and help us select.
So did we have that on the golf course? Question
Well,
for
the
another
golf
time.
course has, the golf course has professionals running it. Not that,
Oh,
but
yeah.
the people running the course know what they're talking about when it comes to it, so they might not have needed that type of assistance.
Okay, all right.
I'm speculating there, I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely depends on the scale of the project too. Like, obviously, if you're putting in I don't know, a new gym somewhere, about a community center, you're gonna have somebody that's gonna manage that bid. I mean, I can pull what other rec departments have done to make sure I do the bid, and I could probably handle it. Maybe we can scale that down a bit, where they're helping us guide as opposed to assisting the whole thing, but but again, this was very much a loose, like, hey, give me a cost of what this would be. So I'm sure I can go back to them and be like, can you
I don't remember.
Not
whittle this
trying to-
down?
Not ever
I'm
trying
just
to
wondering
say,
if some of
make
that
something
built
cost
into
less than what it costs.
Yes.
I just
What are they?
explaining why it's
9/11 would be a good one to look at.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
They're
We
gonna,
should look back and see if we had something similar for 9/11, because that'd be another area unless Tim felt comfortable.
Yeah,
Because he's done
usually
that before.
I've done large scale playgrounds, and there has been, a like bidding, permitting, design element to
Yeah.
that scope of work from architects and stuff like that. So that's not uncommon.
It
and
may just
very-
have been written differently in another application as part of a, you know, a part of an overall thing, and it was included in it, not called out like a line item.
Like project management.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I can totally, and then again, like I said, when I went to Activitas, it was, this is very much a preliminary. Like, what do you think this was gonna look like? So I mean, as we work through this, I can refine this more.
And we
so
can,
that-
we'll just add to our list for them next week when we meet with them.
Yeah.
Relay the same conversation.
And it's not necessarily refined, just describe it, or
Yeah, that's what I'm not.
where it might have been in another one.
That project management is fine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we'll look.
And speaking of changes to the budget, I don't think you'll have the answer to this now, but with the elimination of the parking area, if there's any cost savings, as we talked about earlier, but I don't know if any of like the mobilization, site prep and earthwork was related to the parking area specifically, or if that impacts any of the other line items, but maybe that would affect the cost.
Yep, no, it's a good, very good suggestion. I would imagine it's probably gonna come down a little, to be honest with you, but I'll double check and have something more concrete.
Great.
After this combo.
Thank you.
so I did a general list of some things that I think are outstanding for our next meeting.
Yeah.
Which is November 19th, so if you wanna
Hit me
put
with it.
that on your calendar, November 19th at 6:30. So I have Grant's question on the site work. There's a question on parking outstanding. I'm just gonna say the grants still is outstanding, the contingency amount. And Travis, I can shoot these off to you.
That'd be great, thank you.
Yes.
I was trying to scramble right, but yeah.
New quote we talked about,
And our meeting is recorded.
yes, it is.
Yes.
It is.
Oh, there you go, yeah, I can definitely go back and look.
Yes, so I have an updated quote and I have wood chip maintenance.
Yep.
That we talked about that. If anybody jump in, if I'm missing something that may have been brought up. Just, and these are not updating applications or anything. These are just outstanding questions that we have.
Did you have D on there?
I'm sorry?
The G?
No, I don't. I will put that on there. Thank you.
You had asked about the length of the walking path.
Oh, thank you.
The height of fence,
Kind of
what
fence.
triggers zoning, is it
Okay.
6 feet or
And the
8
wood
feet?
chip, did you?
Yes, wood chip
Okay.
maintenance, yeah.
Um,
And I just want to make sure we're all on the same page going into the next
Oh.
meeting.
And life of park maintenance, like, are you extending the life by keeping it?
Oh. How are we gonna deal with future capital planning?
I'm trying to, how do you want me to bring it?
Like at the end of 20 to 25 years?
Are you going to be like, say something? Like you can have a car that's 25 years, but if you keep, putting a new carburetor in and this, but you get 50 years, is that a plan? Or is it just done at 25 years and you gotta? put
I
a
think
new
that's
one
what
in?
we're gonna learn more about.
That's what I'm saying, that's on the list.
Yeah, oh, okay,
Okay,
yeah.
so.
I
True
think-
life of, true life of town use, does that work, Freddie?
Yeah, and
Okay,
I think most,
cost to dismantle it, if it's one and done, that's what I don't understand, is it one and done and you have to take the whole thing
Okay.
out?
I
Or
don't,
can
I
you
don't,
make a new one
Okay.
out of what's left?
this, I was the rec and park director for the town of Norwood for 9 years, and we had a spray park that I don't know the exact date, but it was older than 1990. So it was fairly old. It was definitely approaching 25 years when I left. And all we had done was replace amenities on it. Like it was same plumbing, same everything, and it was be like, okay, this element's looking worn. And we need to give it a fresh look. So we would just replace the element. That would be taken out, that we put in. So it was manageable. You'd obviously love to get more than 25 years out of it. And you can work to extend it as long as you can. But yeah, you're right.
I think also understanding what a life of means, because you just brought up something I hadn't thought of, so you have the water lines. And the
Yeah.
base, and all of that is still there.
Yeah.
You might have to fix a pipe or do this, but you don't have to start from scratch if you're going to,
Correct.
so just sort of a
Just
better
understanding
understanding.
More about the life cycle and how that typically works, and it's like. Kind of like our fields, right? We rest them every 5 years, but then at some point in time, you gotta do something a little bit bigger to a field, so just understanding like what's regular maintenance versus like.
Yeah.
At 25 years, do we have to expect to like dig up?
The whole thing and take it out
New
and
pipes
start
in
over.
and-
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's a good
just,
point.
just
I got it.
sort of that explains.
life cycle of town use, anything else? No. So one thing I wanted to do was, we asked you a ton of questions, and I think we've answered these questions, but I think we've given some additional information on some of these questions. If we could update this sheet, and we'll just run through it real quick, because I don't think it's a lot. I think it's important for us to be able to put this on the website,
Mm.
that anybody that wants information that may have some of these questions that we can answer and we can take care of as we go through the process. And again, I'll send these to you, Trevor, so I'll
Yeah.
just go through them in case anybody has anything else they want to add. You have the open space and rec plan, but you don't have a year. You said it was 2019,
2019.
so we'll add that. Let's see. We talked about, the committee would like to know the life expectancy, but we talked about maintenance and that too. Maybe we can add that in where the DPW will winterize.
Yep.
And utility costs from the rec revolving fund. I can, the more information we
Yeah.
can give for the committee, for the public is best.
You're talking about revising the application itself, is that right?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
these questions weren't part of the application.
No, no, but.
Yes,
you're
we're gonna
asking us
revise
to
the application
revise,
as
yeah.
well too, but revising these questions, which were
Right.
outside of the application as well. I think we'll attach them to the
Yeah.
application.
Some of them are actually more defined of the application questions as well.
So it's like a supplement to the application.
Right, sorry.
So there's questions in the application for a lot of these. This was just for more information within the app.
All right, so that's another piece to this,
Yeah.
is updated application, but anyway, A couple other things, we talked about the wood chip maintenance, that's in here. I don't think anywhere in here, and I could be wrong, other than the 2D slide that you did, you talk about the size. I think it might be beneficial because someone may not go to the slide, but somebody may want to know. So somewhere within a description within here, and again, in the application as well, we should probably put
Measurement.
the measurements, 8,000, 81,000, sorry, 8,100 square feet for the dog park, yada, yada. And again, it was all on the slide. All that information was there.
Yeah.
I think to incorporate it within, somebody may
Yeah.
miss that piece.
Yeah.
We know it's parkland. Okay, so those are just some of the things I have. So the next piece I think is, and again, I'm sorry, did anyone have anything else they wanted to see updated on this? Katie, Claire?
Yeah, I just have a quick question.
Sure.
I'm not familiar with recreation's budget. I understand the revolving fund, but the 67,000 is, that's not like 1 year's accrual. What's that? How long does it take to get 67,000 into the revolving fund?
Tim has left us in a really good position, and we're pretty healthy with the revolving fund. We wouldn't be offering it. It was, we felt it was something we couldn't recoup. We
Okay.
do annually make, enough money to cover obviously all of our expenses and that, and a little bit for like a rainy day fund. This is essentially our rainy day fund. We'll accrue it over time and be, smart about the way we spend it, but this is, I think we haven't made a big investment over the last few years, and this would be our big revolving fund.
Okay. All right, that is, yeah, that answers my question. The
Capital
other
actually
thing-
got us for not using funding, so we want to put it back into the community.
Claire, did you have something else?
Yeah, just the, are there other towns that have like dog parks and splash pads that, or maybe you haven't had a chance to do that research just to see for pricing?
So I have 5 towns. I'm gonna have that list for the November meeting. I have 5 towns already.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
hoping to add to that list. It's gonna have square footage, what type of spray park it is, how much it cost, and what the funding source was.
Would
I
you
don't
put
know
the
if it's gonna
date?
have like,
Would you put the date as well? Because
The
it
date,
may
yeah.
have been something 5 years ago with inflation.
Yeah.
yeah, and then the date. It probably won't have like proximity of dog park, but I'll look at it. I'll try to Google map it. I'm pretty familiar with a lot of the towns that we're gonna be talking to or I'm gonna be talking to. So I'll try to figure out what other amenities are in the parks that they're in. A lot of people, I'll use Watertown, for example. They have a spray park in a park, and I mean, a lot of people use the grassy area in the park as an informal dog park. So there are dogs playing right next to the dog, and so they might, what I'm trying to say, there might be informal dog use next to the dog park, but I'll double check and I can include that in the.
I
hopefully-
just think that might come up as a question from the audience.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Claire. So one of the things that would be great before the next meeting too is if we could get the application updated. I know I had
Yep.
sent a note to you, Travis. I know we ran into some snafus again.
I don't know if that was on me or not. Every time I updated a box, it updated them all.
It did, and it's fine. It's.
Totally
again,
me. I'm not
It
very
wasn't,
tech
it wasn't
savvy.
you. It was,
Yeah,
it was great that we were able to get it updated. So, Katie, I'm gonna ask you if we could put the application into a Word document, would that make it easier to fill in the boxes, if you will?
Yeah, it should. It just can be changed. So I think once it's done, if it's saved as a PDF, that would be great. And that would solve all the problems.
Okay, so is that something that we can work on, is putting together a Word document of the application so that it can go in and update it, and then we can save it as a PDF? Sorry,
Yep.
go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying, absolutely, be happy to do that.
Okay, that would be perfect. So we'll get that to you, Travis, and then we
Yeah,
can
like I
get it
said-
updated. And if some of these questions that
Yeah.
you have on here fit into the application, then just
Yeah,
put them in the
I'll move
application.
one over, and then the questions that you have in addition to tonight, I'll try to work those into.
Perfect. So we'll shoot you over. I'll shoot you over probably tomorrow.
And
Not this
I'll
week.
shoot you the deed, because I have that.
Okay, and I'll shoot you over the list of outstanding and yeah, and then we'll work on updating the record.
Awesome, this is great, guys.
Travis, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Is Kevin in
worries.
the audience or? is he in Zoom or is he coming? Do you know?
He is not in the audience.
Okay,
A relation of his is in the audience. I don't know if
I'm
that's
getting
him or
some
not.
water.
go ahead.
I'm not.
Go ahead,
muted.
Marcy's there, okay. So
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Travis, thank you so much. This was so
Thank you,
great.
guys.
For a big project, I think it's great to go in
Thank
with
you.
a lot of questions answered.
It was very
Okay,
good.
so. Okay, so we haven't heard from Kevin just yet, so,
I told him 8:30, he'll be here for 8:30.
okay, that's fine then,
Yeah.
so it's 8:18, so. We'll take care of, so the trust, let's just talk about that for a second, so. When we had to change the meeting, the trust was meeting tonight. I want to gauge the committee's. Availability to just do a Zoom. I can't imagine, there was only a couple outstanding questions we had for the trust. Maybe we can schedule a, 15-minute, half-hour Zoom in the next week, so when they come back, if we need them to come back in November, we're on track still.
Yeah.
So if everybody could kind of just look at your schedules, and it'll be a Zoom, it doesn't have to be in person by any means, because I think there was only 3 outstanding things that we wanted. We wanted a final cost of project and how they determine the amount. Committee would like some specificity on current funds in the bank and how much of those funds are CPA. They already have that, but they haven't provided it to us yet. So again, I think,
Kristen had other things that she wanted to mention, but didn't bring up because it was the technical review. If I recall.
Ellen? Okay, so.
No, me,
Yeah.
Oh, Chris, I'm
I
sorry,
mean-
what did I miss?
I don't know if it's just more appropriate discussion for November, but I
Okay.
guess because it's now retroactively going back at what we voted through last year, what happened since that time.
Yeah.
And then, so it's definitely a discussion.
Okay.
That
We can do it, let's do it on the Zoom. Let's have the conversation.
might as well get it out there,
Yeah,
because I
I
think
mean-
there's gonna be other people with this same.
Totally fine.
concerns.
I think it's great. So again, to try to stay on a timeline
Yeah.
of being able to get in place by 12:30. I think, again, if based on everybody's availability, do Wednesday nights tend to work better for people?
I'm
Month are you
pretty
looking
We're
at?
looking at doing something potentially, as soon as possible,
In October,
in October if possible. Yeah, like maybe,
and this is for
Like next
the
Wednesday,
affordable
or-
housing,
we
right?
could, we could,
Yeah,
affordable
it's-
housing into Zoom only.
Because that's it, you said.
That's all we're gonna talk about is
Okay.
why you think in person,
Why not? My question.
because it should hopefully it's gonna be some level of short, but I mean,
Why is it different than,
okay,
I'm just pure, I'm just
No, it's
asking the question. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it.
no,
I'm
it's
just-
fine. Well, does anybody have availability on the 22nd?
I do.
Okay, Grant, I do. I'm sure. I'm leaving to go, we're not leaving till the next day, so I'm probably okay.
What is that, 9 o'clock?
What do you mean? What's 9 o'clock?
You used to have a Wednesday cutoff. Although it shouldn't go past 9.
It shouldn't, so Claire, are you available on the 22nd?
I am.
Okay, why don't we do the 22nd? You guys want to do 6:30 or 7? I'll extend the invitation tonight.
Actually, we asked Katie.
I'm sorry, Katie.
Yep, nope, that works. I would have jumped in otherwise, but
I mean, there's
6:30
meeting,
to 7 works.
You can shoot.
I vote 6:30.
6:30? Okay, hold on 1 second. Let's see.
We need to make sure that they're able to.
that's what
I
we're
just-
saying.
yeah,
meeting
yeah.
right
You
now,
could do
so-
minutes, you could do minutes for the first half hour if they're not available to 7.
Ellen.
Sorry.
She's just saying if they can't be till 7, we could do minutes.
Oh,
I don't know that they had an issue. It was Ellen with the kids for other meetings, but this meeting was 6:30 and she was fine. Can I just come to a CPC?
Might be the other CPC, the other housing trust members.
hold on. 10/22. 6:30. I don't know if they're still meeting, but
We are done meeting.
oh, look, okay, I just texted you. Okay, never mind. That's funny. All right, so
That's really funny.
that is, Ellen, are you available on the 22nd at 6:30
She
before I
just
send?
joined.
Before I send.
Yes,
Doug?
I am.
Okay, so I will shoot Doug a note, or do you want to reach out to Doug? Either way works.
Yeah. Yep, I'll send him a message right now.
Okay, yeah, and just see, I don't know if they want to post a meeting, because Kristen has some questions otherwise as well that I didn't incorporate into the meeting, so it'll be a good discussion. So can we make a note to see if this room's available? The 22nd at
And what time is it?
6:30?
Okay.
Okay, so let's tentatively do that unless there's an issue with Doug or whatnot, so. Okay. So I will move down to the chair's report as we wait for Kevin. So I had put into the Dropbox, and I put copies on the table here for everybody. They got the bid in on the golf course and it came in at, $718,000. So it exceeds the budget of the 475 by 243,000. So this is just an update to us. That they're going to be looking, they rejected the bid. They're looking to rebid the project for the irrigation system. So that's just an update for everybody.
They're concerned about the being so far off.
Yes.
Okay.
And only getting one bidder.
Well, I think there was one bidder and then one came in late, which they had to disqualify. So.
Do you know by any chance what the second one was?
No, they didn't share that with me. I was just giving a
Yeah.
note to say, hey, just so you know. So I wanted to just briefly take 2 seconds and talk about Article 2. Which is for the revolving fund for golf. We actually have the warrant article up. So what it is this will allow unencumbered funds from the revolving fund in excess of $75,000 annually to be used for miscellaneous general fund operational purposes. For calendar year 24, the fund accumulated $112,400 from revenue generated by the golf club operations. Currently, it's limited to be used for operations and improvements to the golf course. So they're looking to use some of these funds. I wanted to bring it up for a couple reasons. CPC has funded most of the projects over there. I had been asked a question regarding future capital that may come up over there. And I had actually asked Freddie, somebody had asked about a report, so I'm just gonna, can I just?
Yeah,
toss
you can
the-
shoot it to me.
I shoot it to you to just kind of update.
So when our work started with the Audubon International, we had a site visit. And they did a report that Golf Course Management Company, the Select Board, the Golf Course Committee, the Open Space Preservation Commission, Concom were all at the site walk. SVT, that's a mistake in this memo, it's not solved, but has a CR. We're all privy there, and the big concern was the maintenance building. And huge cost to bring that up to health, safety, code requirements. It's a maintenance building. You can't have a golf course without a maintenance building. And there was talk of, big budget item to bring it into compliance. So, I'd have to go back and go over it, but people were aware of it, and I don't know, some of the minor things may have been looked at, fixed up, but we're talking construction cost. And what I would say is that before you go turning money from the golf course towards, is it to the general fund? Are all of the golf course capital needs covered before, you want, for all the investment of the town, you want that to be a viable and obviously they're a successful enterprise now because they have that much money and looking at having more money. Shouldn't it all be earmarked for the immediate identifiable capital needs of the golf course, including
yeah.
the irrigation?
Yeah.
And I think that money might be a little bit off, because didn't the golf course have to put in 50K? The golf course revolving fund, so there's some money from that.
Well, we ran into that whole issue with 43B.5, right? So like, we wanted them to kick in funds in the revolving fund, but they weren't able to. Or they weren't able to kick in future proceeds from the.
I'm not talking about future proceeds, they got money now, why would they be turning it?
But didn't we pursue that we haven't accepted 43B.5, which is the article that would have allowed us to accept
Outside.
those funds.
We are not accepting it. They are contributing. It's a different. There's a project,
So
right?
this is for the irrigation.
And Rex paying for the design, right? I mean, it's.
But I think you'll be not actually putting that into the CPA.
No, so
application, right?
when,
No,
let's
but
go
I
back
think
to
she's
the
just saying
application.
apply it
When we
to-
had the application, they had money in their account, 50K, that was earmarked towards this project. Which lowered the dollar amount of how much CPC funded of the project, right? The 50K may have, I'm not sure if it's still out there or not, but the 50K may have gone towards preliminary site project planning or not. I don't know if they've spent, we should find out.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a set amount of money. They have money that they can contribute to the project. It's not to the CPC paying back what the CPC puts out, which is
That
what
is
we
what
had
we had discussed,
originally
right?
talked about. This is, you have a $700,000 project, they have 500, they need 200 more. I'm just making those numbers up. They have some amount of money, shouldn't they be using that towards their own? That's what that fund is for.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, they could have saved up enough money to pay for the
Yeah.
whole thing, right? But they didn't do that, or they didn't have
Well, I
time.
think that's
We
why
asked, they
when
didn't have
we
enough
started
time.
talking about that, that's when we had the conversation about, okay, well, if you can't do it now, maybe you can kick it back to us. That, now I remember that
Yeah, I don't
conversation.
remember all the details, but
Yeah.
That was more about if we took out a bond, they could pay us back,
Yeah.
or if we didn't, if we put it up, could they put it back in so that we could spend it on other things, and that's not allowed. But this would not be coming to this, back to CPA funds, it would just be going their contribution to the project, which those funds are allowed to be used for.
Or else they're gonna be coming back asking for more when they've got some of the cap potentially already covered. Yeah, what's the question for us though? Yeah.
So why I brought it up was, I was thinking that if the committee was okay with it, that I would send the select board just a note and just asking them that, you know, just reiterating that CPC has spent over $1 million at this point on the golf course. And asking that, making sure that they're up to date on what their capital plan is before, and again, and I'm happy to do this as Lisa Braccio citizen, but I think from a CPC standpoint, we've pretty much funded everything, and before they put money back in the general fund and not keep it towards future capital, I'd like to know what the future capital is, for one.
this is a town meeting warrant article.
It's town meetings,
Special
yeah,
town
and then I just
So are we
got,
looking to?
I just
should
want
we
to take a
oppose-
position.
Should we take a position on this again?
We don't have to do it today.
Yeah.
I mean, we're meeting again next week, but I think we should just, I don't want to blindside anybody, but I think,
I haven't actually. read the
see,
warrant yet, so-
that's how it came up, was, you know, a question was asked and then I went to the warrant. So again, I think we should just need to know from a CPC standpoint, and I know some people will believe that, you know, whether it comes from the taxpayers or it comes from CPC, it's all the same thing. But I just think,
Well, especially in this case, when it's actually coming from the golfers, you think like the recreation fund, it should be invested back
into the golf course.
until the point in time that they have so much excess.
Yeah.
That now we can help out the town a little bit.
Yeah.
Also, my understanding was like the revolving fund was not always profitable, right? And so now that they're finally turning profit, they want to empty out the fund.
Basically, yeah, I mean, that's,
Well,
again,
Because when we were talking about, we had asked for the fund history for the revolving fund as part of that
Yeah.
discussion, I believe for the first, a lot of how many years, it's not many, but 3 or 4 years,
Yeah.
if not. And
I
then
think
in
they've been
terms of
getting
small profit,
35K.
Yeah.
A year.
the first year, I think it was, the numbers were down because there was construction going on. But now it has steadily increased, that it's now, so again, so they're saying in, you know, calendar year 24, they got $112,000. So they wanna keep 75.
How much did you say?
112,400, it's in the warrant article.
But to your point, that's variable because I remember him saying, we have, you know, we got lucky because we got a lot of rain one year. He's like, but next year, if we don't have the new irrigation,
Yeah.
then it's, you know.
And I think, as Freddie mentioned in the Mass Autobahn, I think if there's additional maintenance that needs to be done over there with the building, maybe some of it's been done. Maybe it hasn't. I'd like to share that with them. I know it's a different board than was on, and the report was from when? 2019.
2019? Because
Okay.
whether it's a different board or not.
Well, they may not know, is what I'm saying. I mean, I got on the board and there were things that happened prior to me that I was
select
never
board.
privy. Yeah,
So I think the question should go to not only the select board, but to the golf course committee
okay.
for their awareness and answers, like what are their,
What's their position?
Because we've invested a lot of money.
Yeah.
Well-
On behalf of the taxpayers, not we, but the taxpayers of this town.
recommended a lot of projects that the townspeople voted to put forward because of your recommendation.
So is this something we want to take up, put on the agenda for next Wednesday, because special town meeting is the 27th.
Right, I was gonna put it, but I wanted to ask first if the
Okay.
committee was
Did
okay with
someone wanna
me
entertain?
shooting out a note to the selectmen and golf committee, just, asking what their future capital is, and just, again, that the.
Knowing we have the irrigation
Right.
and the maintenance
And the
building,
maintenance building issue and sharing the report with them if we need to.
and the maintenance building is not, I don't believe, a CPA eligible.
So we just wanna make sure that, they can do, this is their,
Informational request.
right, it's just, we just wanna know, we wanna make sure from a CPC standpoint that, again,
Well, I would take this step further. If you find the note and getting the information, then I'd say a tentative agenda item for next week to take a position. Because I think that then opens it up for us to have more of a voice on, I know we could get up on town meeting floor and discuss it, but let's formally take a position.
I can add that to the agenda if that's what the committee wants to do. We can certainly take a position. I'll put it on the agenda for the 22nd.
I'd be happy to discuss it again.
Okay, let's do
Once I-
discussion.
Once I've read it, and decide then if I want to vote on. it.
Totally fine. So I'll just put discussion on the agenda and then we can go, like May vote. How's
May
that?
take a
May take
position.
it, Yeah.
Yeah.
But if the committee's okay with that, again, I'll
I'm glad you brought
draft
it.
something, I'll work with Freddie on it and. We'll just shoot something over just to let you know that we have these questions and, I'll also reach out to the chair as well to see if, again, hopefully we can get some answers prior to the meeting, I think. Again, it's just a comfort level. So Katie, what are your thoughts? Are you good with me sending a note?
Yes, I support that.
Okay, Claire,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, I think that, I know this has been discussed too by advisory, but I think that, they really need to see what, as you mentioned, the capital expenses that they're going to have to see, and I don't know, Lisa, if, you mentioned why the select board is doing this. I mean, they have a really good reason to do it, but I think as several people said, just gotta make sure all the bases are covered first.
Absolutely. And again, Claire, we're not questioning why or anything. It's just, we just want to make sure from a standpoint where, CPA has invested a lot, which is, I should say, the taxpayers, not CPC, but the taxpayers have invested a lot in the golf course. And I think it's just a comfort level for us as we move forward so that nobody's blindsided on town meeting floor by somebody asking this question. That's all. I think it's
Also, you have an open project that's not,
potentially, yeah.
no, it's open, not
Oh,
potential.
the irrigation.
Irrigation is an open project
Right.
that, as it stands right now, is not fundable.
Okay, if everybody's good, I'll work with Freddie and we'll get a note out to them. I'll sooner rather than later, I'll draft something tomorrow and I'll shoot it to Freddie and she can look at it, but those are the points that I wanted to put in. And then I'll put it in the Dropbox for the 22nd so everybody can see. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Kevin, thank you. We'll be with you in just 2 seconds. We're gonna put off signage for now. I know Ellen's here, actually. So why don't we do Kevin first and then we can touch on that. So Kevin, welcome.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. I see that I'm entirely off camera, so it's probably for the record.
So what we did with, the recreation was, will you pull up the letter? Great, thank you.
Yes, I will.
We'll bring up the letter, Kevin, I know, and we'll just kind of go through some of the questions that we
Okay.
had. I mean, some of these are repetitive, I know, I get, but it's always best when somebody may not remember from last year or whatnot. And some of these questions were on last year, so
Sure.
we'll bring them up and then we'll just kind of go through them if you don't mind,
Sure, I'll do my best.
as always. And one of the things is too, Kevin, do you still have, you had sent over a history. I think it was with the prior application.
Yeah.
You had sent over. Can you send that to me? I'd like to get that on the town website.
Sure thing,
As well.
and yeah, because it's super interesting.
It is, it
would
is.
Really help, yeah.
It
Yeah.
is on the website of the 2024 application.
It is, okay, but it may
With
be,
the- I think add photos and.
right, that's what I'm looking for.
But you
So-
need it with the current
Right, so,
application on the
um,
website.
yeah, so anyway, but if we could get that, that would be
Sure
good
thing.
again. Okay, so we'll just kind of zip through these. There's a prior estimate for roof, but there were, and I know we had spoken, but I haven't updated the committee on our conversation. I'll let you do that. We'd like more information regarding the work to be completed. 20,000 was listed as a minimum cost. Is there new information based on meetings you've had? What is the top cost? So, floor is yours, sir.
Okay, we had it took a while because there were a lot of logistics involved, so we had a very thorough inspection. A couple weeks ago, by a fellow named Dennis Sempervon, who runs a company called Beacon Hill Restoration. He's got very, very extensive experience in this kind of historical restoration. And this was something that actually Ben, the prior chair, had very strongly suggested towards the end of the last round, saying that to make sure that we do it right and that CPC money is well spent, and that we get the most bang for the buck. He was encouraging me, to go back and have a more thorough evaluation, that Bill Cundiff and I, the DPW had tried to put our heads together and come up with this and have, roofers come out and look at it. But Ben, I think quite wisely, and I think that was supported by the committee at large, was encouraging a more thorough look to make sure that we got it all right, because if not to rehash at length the history of this, but it started out when I got involved in this when Bill Cundiff reached out to me with regard to the roof, because he knew that was obviously in really poor shape, and asked if I had an opinion or any knowledge or history on it. And that's where I kind of fell down the rabbit hole of trying to pursue the facts and the history of the tower and what it needed. And we had originally speculated that, based on the fact that the tower was built in 1903 and asphalt shingles, for instance, were only invented in 1903, that it may well have been a cedar roof, which is something to bear in mind. So again, Ben, and I understood it with the concurrence of the rest of the committee, had sort of encouraged me to go back and try to be more comprehensive and get architectural historian involved off that list that CPC uses of that state issued list of
So the committee actually asked me to run questions by the Community Preservation Coalition, who a lot of these recommendations came from them, because it's a historic project. You need to have historic information on the construction and the build.
right.
So-
So I had then at that point reached out. At first it was to Wendy Frontiero, who'd done a lot of work, the consultant who had done a lot of work for the historic district, the National Register district. And that led me to various other people. I talked to 3 or 4 different people, and couple Cambridge people, and finally led me through multiple recommendations to Dennis, the guy, and his company's in Hollister, and does work all over Eastern Mass. Anyway, we were finally able to arrange what he wanted was a lift, like a cherry picker, to actually really get up and look at this. And so Chris Leroy at DPW arranged, they actually had to rent this thing for us. So it took some time to arrange the logistics, and they brought over this huge like scissor lift. And the inspection actually, it's funny, when we first arrived on site, Chris said to me, well, how long is this going to take? And I said, I don't know, half an hour, maybe. It was actually 2 hours plus that they were up on the lift examining this thing to a fairly well. And it was very, very interesting. And certainly I learned a lot at that. And most of it was very, very good news. In fact, he said, you know, without getting into too much detail, that the tower was very solidly built, had been brilliantly built by the fellow George Cantello who built it, who's buried over there. And that it wasn't going anywhere, and that the substructure of the roof looked actually in quite good shape. He had some thoughts about one of the big reveals that came out of that inspection was that his belief that it quite likely had been originally roofed in slate. Now that affects what the price would be, of course, to replace the roof. But the good news is, you know, if it's a cedar roof, it's going to have to be redone in, you know, what, 30, maybe 40 years if you're lucky. Whereas a slate roof could last you 100. You know, so that was the same decision, you know, you had at the townhouse. So more money up front, less money possibly in the long run. Again, he said that the roof itself, that structure only had at most 2 coats of paint on it. But yet, because it's so well ventilated that it had resisted rot, and it's, you know, I believe cedar. The wood elements of the sills and those, there are 4 sort of slot windows with louvered vents on them now. Those are very seriously deteriorated, and they've been eaten by red squirrels.
Those are terrible.
So they're chewed up bad on the inside. The door, which DPW replaced about 20 years ago, is actually in quite good shape, and he thought it was period. It's a replica of the original doors, which had rotted beyond all repair. But he felt that they were actually quite sensitively and well made, and matched what would have been there. So it was mostly very good news. He did add that the mortar was some concern, not from a structural standpoint per se, but certainly from an aesthetic one. And if you go over and examine that tower, you can see there's been some bad patching over the years, which is a drag. And there were some cracks that he didn't feel that were a risk to the structure, but certainly ought to be addressed at some point with period appropriate repairs, a lime mix kind of repair. So it was very good news. But what he did say to me, and this is what I conveyed to Lisa when we spoke, was that the price was going to be much more, in his view, than Bill and I had originally, you know, estimated the last round. And to do it properly, I hesitate to give a figure right now, because I think, you know, Dennis said, you know, the risk is that that's the number that people remember. And what I want to come in to CPC in out of respect for the process and for the taxpayer is a number that's accurate, like really accurate. So, but he did indicate that it was quite likely to be quite a bit more. And he said, you know, look, you have 2 ways to go about it. You could address the roof and the wooden elements now and put off the mortar work. But the smarter and ultimately more economical move would be to fully scaffold that building, similar to what was done at the St. Mark's Bell Tower. Address the roof, address the mortar while you're at it, the wood elements, and you're done. And that ultimately is going to be cheaper. He said, yeah, you could do it in 2 stages, but again, cheaper to do it all at once, but considerably more expensive than what you had initially thought. That said, it's because slate roof, if that's the ultimate decision, and because, for instance, the best play on the wood elements is to, you know, rebuild where they're all eaten up by squirrels with, you know, it's not like ipe or acacia, and it's probably a heat treated wood that's basically, he said, it's going to last the life of the building, basically forever, you know. And that so how we left it was, you know, Mr. Semperbon did this 2-hour inspection and consultation with me for free. He said, you know, I can guesstimate a number for you, but what you really want is a comprehensive report with photos, with history, with recommendations. And I said to him, I want something that I can send out to bid. You know, that I want hard numbers and I want a biddable document, because you know, the way some of these things have been done, frankly, the fence was done this way, right? Was we came up with a number that was, you know, basically Bill's, you know, best guess on the fence, and we talked to some fencing contractors. But then now you've got the engineering work that's being done afterwards that comes off the budget, right? You know, so we can spec the bid and get apples to apples bids. That's what, you know, Mr. Cundiff has insisted on. So I would like to come into the tower thing with the report and the numbers first, so we can go to the voters as I'm thinking of myself as part of your team here, with and present something that's, you know, I mean, I'll be honest about the fence. It was no sooner passed, and I was delighted that we, you know, got that through. And then I was hearing this grumbling about the cost, and I'm like, well, you know, it is what it is, kind of thing. And my hope is that in that project, we'll be able to return substantial money to town coffers if it all goes well. But so how do we get this report? Because you can't expect a professional to work at, you know, an unlimited number of hours for free. I mean, he indicated if, you know, we want him, the kind of report that I was asking for, that would cost some money. So, you know, Lisa suggested that I inquire of the select board on this subject, and I have talked to the chair, and you know, Andrew Dennington has indicated a receptiveness to that, and would like to bring it to select. So I've been back and forth with Dennis. He wants to come back with his for further investigation, his roofer and his mason, with a goal toward getting a good report and good numbers. So I said to him, well, look, how much do you know, what is this going to cost? And where we're at now is that he's working on, you know, he wasn't able to just say, oh, it's going to cost 3,000 or 4,000 or whatever it is. He said, I need some time. I'm going to give you a number that I need to give you the report that you want and need, and that will be able to, so I can come to CPC and give you guys the absolute best facts, you know, supported by the professional evaluation and with real numbers instead of guessing. And I think that's the best service both for you and I hope, you know, for the taxpayer. So that's where I'm at. He needs more time. And I said, well, I gotta, you know, if I can get there from work, I gotta go talk to my CPC friends tonight. He said, well, I need, you know, probably a week or two to get you a number. Once I have it, I'm gonna, you know, seek that amount from our friends at the select board, and then hopefully generate a report that I can, and I'm aware of your, you know, dates and times and the pressures that you're under. And I'm going to do my best to meet them, because I'm, you know, I think this is really important to get done by the tricentennial, as sort of a central civic structure at the center of town. But I really feel, having gone through the last round experience here, that I think it's really important to have a solid report that I can back up numbers and take out to bid. I'm not saying that we'll have the final bids, because, you know, that's a laborious process before, you know, ATM, but I think I can, you know, have good numbers. I think this is the best path, and I'm open to suggestion on.
You can't go out to bid till you have funding.
Right. So, but what, you know, again, I think.
Good estimate is what.
Right, the goal of this board is the estimate, and then a document that we can take the bid, so that we don't have to back it out. We know what that part of it's gonna cost, and don't have to back it out of the allocation that we get.
I have 3 questions.
Sure.
So the time let's talk about the timeline for a second, just so I'm 100% clear. So we need funding to pay the gentleman. I know you talked to Andrew, but there's as I sat here, I don't know if I mentioned to you, there's a perpetual fund for the cemetery. And
Yeah. I've, Lisa, I talked a little bit with Sam
yeah,
Stivers about this. I don't know if he's on the call or not. And until now, I think there's been a feeling that it wasn't an appropriate use of that money.
maintenance though.
So I'm willing to go talk to those folks. I'm happy to, because here's my one thought about it, for whatever it's worth. I don't know if this is too much candor, but the tower is surrounded. It kind of goes off to the one side. You know, there's that raised bed,
Yes.
it's a concrete
Yep.
thing, and there's a trust involved in that.
Yep.
And what I thought would be, and that wall is itself quite deteriorated. It's concrete capped and there's pieces broken off and you can lift them up and.
Yeah.
And I think at the least, I think it would be a nice sense of partnership with the Cemetery Trust Fund folks, if I could get them to commit to kicking in that while we do the tower work to shore that up and make it
Yeah.
nice, you know what I mean? So that I agree with you that some buy-in. That's my personal feeling. I think we're in alignment on this, that I would like to see some buy-in from the Cemetery Trust Fund on this project.
Yeah, I mean, again, for me, I mean, I don't think we're talking millions of dollars here, Kevin, to do this, and we're bringing the project itself to CPA. You know, to the citizens of the town to see if they'll fund it. I think the very least, there's a perpetual fund with close to $1 million, if not more in it. I think a small investment in the maintenance on the cemetery that fund was created for, again, my 2 cents, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Or like I had said to you before, you know, if the selectmen can do something, but with the timeframes we're on, it's gotta be sooner rather than later.
Right. So I will try to deal with that, if this sounds good to you, as a sort of two-headed
Yep.
beast, and you know, work with the select board, because I think there's support there. And then also speak with the Cemetery Trust Fund people, because I agree with you. I understand. I want to be clear. I know they've got to deal with that. You know,
I
that
know.
wall in the back, and you know,
Yeah.
there are all kinds of issues
Mhm.
that they're facing, and I'm sure no is going to cost a lot of money. And you know, that said, yeah, I'm going to work on
Yeah,
it.
I think just to meet the timeframes, I know, you know, we're meeting again November, just wrote it down, sorry. 19th, thank you. You know, so, and we're getting to the end, so we're gonna need
Yeah.
a solid number. You know, prior to that, it's hard to go forward and make a decision in December without knowing what that number is. So I'll just say that.
Right.
Perpetual fund, the time frame. Actually, I can say I only had those 2 questions.
Okay.
So again, I think sooner rather than later, I think, you know, there was a level of support from CPA on getting this done. I just hate there to be a roadblock in the way, Kevin, that this gets put off till potentially a fall next year. I think, you know, anything we can do to stay within the windows and the guidelines that we've created, I think it's very important.
Right, yeah, because I mean, we know from the St. Mark's Tower, that ended up being a fairly protracted project. I mean, this is a much lower scope.
Yeah.
As you know, it's a smaller structure. The level of remediation, I think, is much less.
So we'll go down the line. I'll Krishna, come to you next week.
No, I think, well, first of all, I'll just say this is like our second applicant here tonight, who's really. We were with Recreation Travis before, and just say appreciate the level of consideration that both
Yes.
put in. And we're very familiar with this project
Mhm.
from last year, so I would just say, I just agree with your points being made. I don't have anything to add.
Great.
Yeah, I agree with what you both said. One thing I will mention is, you know, if I think as a fail-safe in terms of getting a number, if we can get a rough ballpark number that we can go forward as a committee, well, you know,
Yeah, I mean, we had
we're
3
securing
bids on the
funding to
rail.
get like a biddable document and everything.
Right,
That would be like, if we're running out of time, for example, in
Right.
December, like, if we can get Dennis, right?
Yeah.
To give us the maximum it's gonna be is 150,000, and it's likely gonna be 100, whatever, 20 or something like that. I still think as a committee, that would be useful for us, that we could run with that number, and then obviously it's better to have the exact biddable document, but if that's a timing issue in terms of getting it done by December, then I would be comfortable if we get some sort of estimate or guess, I guess. from
And of
them.
course, we're never gonna know
Yeah.
exactly, you know
Of
how
course.
they're busy, put it out to bid and.
Well, we
You
just
get-
talked about the golf course, the irrigation system, and the bid
Right.
came in like $240,000 more.
Well,
So-
the situation that we had, the last time we were trying to do this is, Bill and I were over there one day with a, roofing contractor that showed up and then declined the bid.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
then you don't know what you're gonna get kind of thing.
Okay. Katie, do you have anything to add so far?
I do not, thank you.
Okay, Claire?
No, I'm good.
Okay, let me just ask, Katie, do you have a dead stop time?
Probably in about 20 minutes. Thank you for asking.
40 minutes?
Like 20, 25.
20, okay, just want to make sure that we get through what we need to with Kevin, so, okay, good,
Thank you.
you're welcome, okay, Freddie.
And Ellen's back on the call, so I think we have. Or.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ellen,
I know, I just meant if.
no, I didn't go to her, so
We
thank
still
you.
have a. quorum.
Nope, that's
Yeah.
fine. Ellen, go ahead.
No
Sorry,
worries. You're fine. Nothing else from me. Thank you.
Okay, all right, Freddie, do you have any questions on what Kevin just said?
I'm not sure where we are on the sheet questions, so,
We're on the first bullet point, but we kind of expanded a little bit from that, but.
all right, so. No, as long as we're gonna hit
We're gonna,
the other.
yes,
next.
we're gonna go to second bullets.
Okay,
Okay, so I think that's good. The second is an update on roof inspection you did regarding costs and evidence of original material used. You kind of gave us an update on the material used. To determine eligibility for exact material and size, CP monies can't fund wooden shakes unless proof they were original material used. So Freddie, that was, I believe, one of your questions, so. was
still
that-
now,
Was that answered or no?
No.
Okay, so I'll let you ask, follow up to that.
so you said there was evidence it could have been slate.
Yeah, Dennis's view was based on multiple factors, including the dimensional lumber that was used, for instance, of the substructure of the roof.
So this would come up in. Once he's hired to do a full report,
Right,
because this was a concern from the last time from the coalition, when we started talking about, was it asphalt shingles or slate, or shakes? And even with the shakes, because you can't. If you're just repairing it, to repair it, to make the buildings feasible, that's one thing, but if you're doing a historic restoration, you have to do it. You can't just
right.
make up what you want to use for the roofing material.
Correct.
With shakes, there's different sizes and different ways they're laid out.
Right.
So he asked for that he didn't ask, it was suggested the commission require documentation or evidence. So when you get the report, you will have that. So we don't need to go over what he saw now until he's written out a report, correct?
Yeah, and I will say, we're sure it wasn't asphalt because it couldn't have been just from the timing. And I frankly, Freddie, sort of turned over heaven and earth trying to find a photograph. And unbelievably, and including like outreach to the Historical Society, and nobody seems to have one. I just can't come up with it. I can't find it. I've really done a lot of digging. And so that's part of the thing. And hopefully, when the roofer's out there, they want to actually go back up just via a ladder and kind of try to get a look under. And sometimes you can identify through nailing patterns.
Maybe a piece of slate will fall out.
Yeah, we don't, who knows? But it had to do with historic equivalents that he's aware of, shape, size, and structure that suggested quite possibly slate. would have been appropriate as a roofing
So
material.
this is another reason why that report is valuable and almost somewhat required.
Yeah,
So,
no, I think it would help quite a bit.
excellent. That was my question on that.
Okay. The cemetery fund, we kind of already talked about that. Could this fund be used to offset costs? We kind of know that from last year. I think the answer was. no. When it was 20,000.
But can
Go
I,
ahead.
can I ask on that?
Yeah.
There's an application question. It should be documented in this year's application. It's not,
Okay, go ahead.
it, like why it's not.
Well, as I said, I'm more than happy to approach the cemetery trust fund folks and ask for a meeting. And, see what they say.
I mean, I just know last year when we talked about this, they were not receptive.
Yeah.
So
So if they had that written down, that.
right, we would just put that,
I would ask.
and
again.
that's one of the last things, sorry, Freddie.
Yeah.
just one sec. That's one of the last things we're gonna get to is we're gonna ask for the application to be updated, and I think that's what Freddie's looking for.
Okay.
Well, that's your question, am I wrong? That you're looking for the answer that you'd approach them prior to being the application.
Yeah, I don't think it hurts if you're asking them about the other, it's
Right.
part of it, right?
Okay,
I'm just saying taxpayers, they're gonna ask this question. Why do we have $1 million and, and if you answer it up front, it saves time down the road.
is that it
No, well,
for that one?
the whole bullet,
That one bullet about the $1 million and something in the fund, yeah, do you have more on that?
no.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions on that bullet?
No,
It's easier than going around. Next, we'd like more information on question 7 regarding any grants that may be available and why they would not be acceptable. Specifically, Massachusetts Preservation Project Fund should be investigated because awarded, that doesn't make sense.
If awarded,
Yeah, if awarded, the Mass Historical Commission will hold a PR. And there's other grant links. Freddie, I believe this was one of the questions you had.
Well, it was from last year as well.
Okay, sorry.
I don't recall how I replied to this last year, to be quite frank with you, but one observation I would have is that my own investigation of this, it seems to me quite unlikely. And my view of the whole issue of a preservation restriction is that for this particular structure, the town-owned structure in the cemetery, what was the pressure that, you know what I mean, that the town would, that someone would ever sell it, develop it into condos, it can't be done. So to me, it's like chasing, there are structures in the town that I would fully support a preservation restriction on. That those present could guess at least one of them. But this tower to me is not one of them. So it feels a little bit like it adds so much complexity and cost to somebody to it that that's just my personal feeling.
can I explain why I just,
And we'll go
if
down.
it's worth funding, it's worth preserving. And if it goes to getting and I understand at one time it was said, well, it's not enough money, but any money's, it's worth the call to the historical, at least in the application, right, you called and they said, this is not something they would fund. They would not consider it. But even if it was, it's a reimbursable percentage. They give you a percentage of what the cost is and give you a PR. You don't pay for the PR. They hold it. I don't see any downside to making the call and asking. And it could be money. And now you're saying we don't have any idea how much, but significantly more than 20,000.
But point taken, I think it's completely fair and I will follow up. on that.
And then you can just put in, I called and they said it wasn't
Right.
something they would
No,
fund, or we'll put in an application. Either way, it's the answer.
I absolutely agree,
Thank you.
100%.
Kevin, just so you know, that was number 7, which was funding, and it asks in the application.
Yep.
Are you seeking alternative funding outside of CPA? What additional funding sources are available, committed, under consideration? You just said no. So I think we just
I will,
expand on that a little bit.
I will double back.
Okay, does anyone else have anything on that?
Just on the mass preservation projects,
Go ahead.
I was looking at their website today. It's a reimbursable grant. I believe the application deadline is March and they award it in June. Which is a bit weird, I think, for us because
Yeah.
they require a town meeting vote, right? So it would be almost reimbursed like a year plus later or something. I'm not sure exactly, but because town meeting would not be in March to be able to put that application in, but the deadline
What do you mean?
is in town meeting typically April and May,
End of March, April.
and they require the funding in order to submit the application, I think. So anyway,
Right, it's a
So
little
it might-
cart in the horse.
yeah, there might be a bit of a timing issue.
Well, then,
Or you might have to wait a long time for the reimbursement if you do get it awarded.
whichever it is, just explain it.
I'm not saying it's
Because
possible.
I also know that never say never, and who knows, down the road, someone say, you know what, we need some more land for graves. What's with this old water tower that does nothing? We could put some graves there.
I think I'm gonna put my vice chair on this.
There you go. I think that's great. Ellen, Katie, or Claire? Any comments on this?
No,
Thank you. Okay. Number 10, maintenance. DPW needs to address this. Too often maintenance has been deferred. Is there some way to include in the warrant article that maintenance is guaranteed? Maintenance of historical artifacts is important. CPC cannot fund maintenance. Members would like to see a letter from the DPW agreeing to the maintenance of this building and a plan of how to do it. Please address the DPW knowledge of historical building maintenance requirements. Are there items that may need to be cared for outside of DPW's expertise? Do you need an outside expert to do some maintenance and repairs? Will DPW pay for that out of their budget?
Bill Cundiff, Chris Leroy, and I have discussed this at length. And Dennis Semperbon, our consultant, has indicated that in the study that he would submit to us would include a maintenance, a schedule of recommended maintenance. That said, the expectation on this would be very minimal. It would be a matter of, putting new coats of spar varnish on the doors every 4, 5, 6 years. But he intends, because I said I absolutely need, because I was aware of the CPC requirement.
Yep.
I said, I need a scheduled maintenance plan because, Chris Leroy said to me, frankly, prior to this, we've had no plan for this building. There's no sort of formula for this. And so I said, well, if we get this report, it's going to include, and he said, we can then work that into our plans and have a routine that every 5 years we got to go out and put spar varnish on the doors and so on. Whatever the consultant says,
Yeah.
we'll just do it. And sure, that can be built into a budget because it's going to be minimal. But the reason these kinds of assets, I think, fall into disrepair is that prior to this, there hasn't been a plan,
Yeah.
so that it's very reasonable for you to ask this and to indeed require it, I think. So I was very happy that this will be, and I actually think that Dennis brought this up initially to me. He said, we'll include a maintenance regimen.
So can we? Let's see. Well, we have notes. Some of them, they don't want to explain to them notes. Can we get a letter from Bill Cundiff agreeing to future
Yeah,
maintenance?
I'll
of
ask
land?
him. I'll ask him
I
for
mean, I
that.
don't think he should be doing maintenance on everything.
Yeah, I think
Do you want to wait till you get the
We can wait till we get the
report
report.
so that
That's
he
fine.
can be specific on what that he's agreeing to do what's in the report or funding if it's
Okay,
not something
that's-
he can do.
That's fine with me. We can wait on that then. Kristen Grant, you good with that? Okay. Ellen, Claire, and Katie, are you good with putting number 10 off until we get the report?
Yes.
Yep. Assuming it's yes from the other two. Okay.
We
So
already did that.
we did the PR, that was already done.
Yep.
Go ahead.
All set.
Sorry. Oh, all set. I'm sorry. Thank you. And then we had asked about share the history of the building. If you could just, I know it's probably in a file, Kevin, it's probably easier for you to
Yeah.
get than me. That would be great. We be prepared to update the timeline as information becomes available. I think once you get the report. Question 9 asks for experience and proposed project manager, if this information is available.
I don't have.
I don't know who put that on here.
Proposed project manager, I'm not sure. Quite that was, this is,
Question 9.
ultimately, of course, once assuming
Oh,
that,
it's correct.
that the money, comes through and gets approved by town meeting, it'll become. It'll be, Mr. Cundiff who shepherds this through in terms of contractors and, I'm not an engineer, so I don't have the capacity to, provide oversight.
Yeah.
But I would think it would be Bill that, as with the fence, of course, he's,
Yeah,
dealing with VHB on that one. Get the report and the contracting and the bidding.
so can we follow up with Bill and see if he plans to be? I mean,
Yeah.
sure, go ahead, Freddie.
No, you just have a project manager and
Right.
it's not telling us, they're not asking you this. Just asking who
Okay,
and what
Yeah,
their
we can
experience
clarify
is.
that. I mean,
Okay, that's
What's their qualifications?
Yes, Bill and I mean, we've had this countless conversations about this tower.
Sure.
At
I know.
this point, he's probably sick of me, but been persistent.
Okay, anybody jump in if you want to add something instead of me keep going round and round, just jump in and ask a question. We're almost done here. Report when the inspection is done, which would fill in the feasibility reports questions, so please provide, so. Excuse me, with the report's not done. So we'll just have to update that. Additional documents on control of site, need a letter from the select board or whoever has care and control. Site, so that's a site control. So that should be easy. And that's basically the list of the questions that we had. So there are some outstanding, obviously, Kevin. So, before we go to next steps, I'll see, does anyone have anything else they want to add, Kristen? Okay, Grant?
Just in terms of revising the application, I was looking back at the 2024 application that Historic put in.
Yeah.
There's a lot more detail there. We have the Macris report with all the photos. So in terms of revising it, I think it should be pretty easy to copy over a good amount of that.
Okay. Okay,
So that it's in the 2025
that would be great.
revised one.
That would be great. Ellen, anything else?
Nothing else. Thank you.
Claire?
Nothing else.
Thank you, Katie. I'm not sure if you're still here.
Yep, yeah, no thanks, I'm good.
Okay, that's perfect. So, yeah, so what we're gonna do, Kevin, is I think I said in my note is we're gonna send out, I know people had trouble with the application. We're gonna put it in a Word document and you can just repopulate it. I'm sure your vice chair will be more than happy to help with that process and knows what we're looking for. So, yeah, so I mean, anything we can get done to update things prior to the meeting on the 19th. And again, there'll probably be another update after the meeting on the 19th, but as long as we can keep things moving. So when we make it a recommendation in December and we vote on these projects, that the citizens have the most current and up-to-date information on our website. So and Grant, I'm not beating to the band, Mr. Vice Chair here, everybody. Congratulations, Grant.
Thank you.
And yeah, so we'll keep moving on this and yeah, I would just suggest trying to have the town find the funds. The selectmen are meeting next week, aren't they?
Yes, but because Dennis doesn't think he would have the number that he
Yeah.
would ask for this report ready at that point. It was going to be on consent agenda next week, but that we're decided to defer to the meeting afterwards. because it's just,
So he's got to, or just again, just for clarity. So we need to pay him to create this report, bring out the roofer, bring out the mason.
right,
So currently, there's not, the funds haven't been found to pay him to do that, correct?
correct.
So is that what's being put off until the select board's next
Yeah,
meeting?
Because I was on the phone with him this afternoon, actually, and I said, listen, just give me the number. What are you asking for to do this report? He said, I really have to sit down and
Okay,
figure out how many hours it's gonna
Got
take
it.
me. What I gotta do, I gotta get subs out to look and, all that stuff. And he said, it's a trying, because it just means more time.
okay.
But I respected what he was
course.
saying to me. I just don't want to pull the number out of the air.
No, of course. I just wanna.
Yeah.
Make sure, Kevin, that we don't get to the end of the year and
Right,
we don't have everything that we need to start
Oh,
moving this
I-
forward to town meeting, because I think this, like you said, with the tricentennial coming, I think it's really important.
What year is the tricentennial?
27,
So next year is 26.
yeah. So if
Yep.
this gets approved, if it doesn't get approved in the spring and it goes to the fall, you're probably not gonna have the work done when the tricentennial, because it's a year of different, celebrations, if you will.
Right.
So,
it wouldn't be the first time a historic asset was under scaffolding when a major milestone passed. But
we're gonna hope not.
we'll at least try. to
Yeah,
get
let's,
there.
let's work and try and, to get this, to get all the information that we need to to take a
Yeah.
position to move forward.
Yeah, it's been a road.
So put on your calendar, the 19th at 6:30,
Okay,
November 19th. So that gives us a 3-week window, maybe? Roughly a 3-week. window.
yeah, at least I'd like to be able to report some kind of progress
Yeah.
on the report being underway or authorized or.
I was just gonna say, just thinking about tonight for the 19th, I assume we can, since we've got kind of. Well, doing major discussion topics.
Yes.
We can like slate.
Time wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Can I,
think
did I miss something? Do we have an October date?
October 22nd. You mean for
Yeah,
the
next
next?
Wednesday.
Oh, I didn't write October.
Yeah, October 22nd at 6:30.
6:30.
We're gonna
Okay.
see if this room's available.
Yeah. I'm fine.
And then we'll go from there. Okay, Kevin, thank you. We appreciate.
Thank you.
I know you're busy and
CPC members present
you for-
and virtual.
thank you for accommodating.
Katie, Claire, Ellen, thank you.
Much appreciated.
Thanks, folks.
Thanks.
All right,
I'm gonna
see
go
ya.
home and have dinner.
So Ellen had sent over some signage. Is that something, seeing as we're at 9:20?
One day.
At our,
Your meeting next week?
right, we're meeting on the 22nd. Why don't we add the signage to the trust and then we'll add, Claire, were you able to work on the minutes from the last meeting?
Yes, I did. I can share with you, they're not ready for prime time. I can pull the
Okay.
document up. I'm about an hour and a half into the meeting, so I have another half
Okay.
hour to finish it.
Claire, why don't we just plan on doing that on the 19th? I was just gonna say if they were done, I'd put them on the agenda for the next meeting. But why don't we just do it on the 19th in November? How's that?
That's fine with me. Thank you.
Let's do that. So I think that's everything. If everybody's agreeable, Ellen, with the signage, you put that off. And thank you for putting that together. That was great, by the way.
And that actually works out because we have a rec meeting next week, so I can just go through what Ellen and I discussed with them coming
Okay.
into our meeting, so.
Okay. So is everybody good with all that?
Yep, and I'll just add, I heard back from Doug and next Wednesday does work for him. He'll be coming
Perfect.
back on the train and will be available around 6:45, so we can do
That's
minutes or signs or anything else we need to do first, and then he can join.
Awesome. All right, you guys are the best. Do you have anything else ready before? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. First and seconded. Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Kristen?
Yes.
Grant?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Oh, is there Ellen
Yes.
and Claire
Yes.
and Lisa? All right, thank you guys. Much appreciated. Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
Night all.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.